What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Technical Fowl podcast. As always, you're joined by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson, surrounded, or flanked, I guess I should say, by JP Pusilowski and Sanders Oakley. How y'all doing, boys?
Fantastic.
Doing good.
Feels like a Wednesday. It's going to take a while for my brain to adjust to the new schedule of like shows on Thursdays instead of Wednesdays.
Yeah. If you didn't catch that already, we're going to do Sunday, Thursday shows for now, and then when the NFL starts, we'll have Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday shows. We'll go to 3 a week at that point. But for now, you can expect us every Sunday, every Thursday, just because with school kicking back up, we're a little busier Wednesday nights than normal. And if we're already going to go to Thursdays anyway, we might as well just move now.
Yep, makes sense.
So there's that. We have a couple other announcements to get to. But first, JP, how's your day? How's your first? How's it feel to be back on campus?
Great, honestly. What they did to the Perry, a crime against this university, one of the worst crimes this university has ever committed. But other than that, campus has been great. It feels, I forgot how good it feels to be on campus in the fall with the football season coming up. The fantasy football is all on the mind of everyone you talk to. The football season in general, we have a game in literally like less than 72 hours, essentially. Saturday, it'll kick off like just past noon is when it kicks off.
Next. Oh, not state, just college
football in general.
Kansas State, Iowa State.
I was like, I hate to break it to you, JP.
No, I'm correct.
Yes, you are. You are.
But no, it feels great to be back on campus.
Bet. Now we can get to the announcements. Sanders, I'll let you take it away because they're kind of both
two big exciting things happening for the podcast. The first is every week when we talk college football, we'll be talking about our top 25s, and we also want to talk about y'all's top 25s. So I have built a website for y'all to rank your top 25s every week alongside of us. We'll always put ours in there, and then you can put yours in there. It's t25sports.com. I'll put the link in the description, actually. That's cool to say. Put the link in the description.
Yeah, very official of you.
T25sports.com, you go in there, and then like you just put your email in so that we're not just like having a bunch of bots and stuff like just put in and spam a bunch of ballots like one of our friends did. He put LSU in 25 times in first place or whatever. So it's super easy, super simple. I'll share that, but I'm really excited. I've already done my top 25. We'll talk about it later on the show. We'll talk about all three of ours. It's kind of a evolution of the spreadsheet from last year, which y'all were both participants in, where I made a college football spreadsheet that everyone filled out their top 25s. This is hopefully going to be bigger. It's easy to share with your friends. We like seeing where other people have teams. It's fun to talk about. I'll try and highlight some really interesting rankings every week, maybe one person who's higher or lower on a team than everybody else. So that's exciting. And then the other big announcement is we have a Discord. I've been working on getting that set up and, created properly so that all of us can hang out. And, it's a cool way to, I think we've already used it some to talk to some of our friends, but also we want to be able to talk to our fans. And if you have, sports news you want to share or sports thoughts, we've got a bunch of different channels in there for college sports, NFL sports. We've got an esports channel in there, JP, for you and your Rainbow Six Siege, apologies. So it's going to be super fun. I'll also put that link in the description. I wish I had done both those. I'll do those. I'll put them in the description. I'll edit it while we talk. Or you can go to our Linktree and find the Discord. Linktree is in the YouTube bio. It's in all of our bios. It's everywhere. So those are two super big things I'm excited about to kind of see how it's more ways for us to engage with people. Right now we have 2 viewers, so we're going to engage with y'all, but also engage with other people who watch and who do stuff with us. So I'm excited.
Thanks, Sanders. Yeah, thanks for doing that. With the top 25 website, if you do notice a glitch or something, let Sanders know because it is very new.
It is. And I built it. I have been teaching myself code via ChatGPT, and it's been challenging. It was ready a week ago. I think I texted y'all.
You did.
And then I broke it that night. And that was like I had a little bit of a panic attack where I was like, this is supposed to be ready like 3 weeks ago, when we started our college football previews, and that did not happen. And then it was ready a week ago, and I was like, a big sigh of relief, and then I was trying to fix the final things, and it big time broke. Got it all fixed. But if you do find something, you can DM us or DM me on any of my social medias. DM the Technical Fowl social medias just to be like, hey, yeah, it's really easy to do this thing that shouldn't be done, or I can't. Anyway, there's a lot of ways to get to us. So, yeah, if you see something broken, please let me know so I can fix it.
Sure. I believe that's all the housekeeping, unless there's anything you can think of, JP. Cool. On the docket for today's episode.
I've talked about Quasi Gilbert, right? I think I talked about him last. I mean, I can talk about him again.
I mean, if you want to talk about your boy
good,
Quasi again, you can. Still not sure that's how you say his name, but
UCLA fans in the chat, please let us know. How do you say Kwazi? I feel like it's Quasi or Quasi.
Yeah, Quasi is what I was kind of thinking is an option. But yeah, on the docket for today's show is just going to kind of be an overall preview of this college football season. So we're going to hit you with our top 25s, as Sanders mentioned. We're going to go back over our conference champions real quick again, pick a Heisman, a couple other categories, first coach we think is going to get fired, stuff like that. And we'll run you through our playoffs.
Yeah.
So kind of hit all the big topics as we roll into the season so we can all see where we stand. And this is the official stuff as well. So no take-backs from this point on.
I didn't know we had take-backs before now.
Says the guy that no longer has TCU winning the Big 12.
This is true.
I think that's quite a big take-back.
It is.
Well, actually, you apparently still have them winning. You just don't have them in the playoffs, which...
No, I didn't. Did I not?
You have not changed them as your Big 12 champion.
I do need to fix that.
So you need to change
that.
You're running out of time for no take-backs.
When is the cutoff? Do we have a final...
I mean, we are starting with conference champions again, so I'd hurry up.
All right, I'm now locked in. Final answer, ready to go. You want to start? We want to work.
Well, start group of 5.
G5 alphabetical American.
Sure.
If I can find them.
Looks like I don't have the American.
Didn't make a graphic for them.
Start with Conference USA.
Conference USA. Here we come.
JP, would you like to give us your Conference USA?
I got the
winner?
Liberty Flames.
Huge. Sanders, would you like to follow suit?
I also had the Liberty Flames, which I picked safely knowing that you would provide diversity because you would not pick Liberty.
Yeah, it's against my principle. Just to pick Liberty because I just don't like the university. So I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if I chose Liberty. And also Western Kentucky, that's my mom's alma mater. Go Hilltoppers.
Yep.
So gotta rep when you can. So I got Western Kentucky winning Conference USA. I don't feel like there's much more to say. We can move on to the MAC. We're just
Quick question. What are you going to do when you have kids and they're like, yeah, my dad is a Mississippi State alumni, but, like, gig 'em? Like, is that going to be weird?
I'll give him a pat on the head and say, thanks, champ.
I don't know. It's just weird. Y'all are going to be an A&M childhood, and both you and your wife are going to be state alumni.
We'll cross the bridge when we get there. Maybe I'll have a kid that he randomly is like, I'm a
Padres fan?
UCF fan. And I'll say, fan? You poor child.
Shout out
what have you done to yourself?
Kentucky is not much better right now.
You're at least in the SEC.
Yeah. Next up is we just did Conference USA. You want to go to the MAC?
Yeah, and if you're like watching this and you want a more thorough breakdown, we've already talked about all these conferences in length on the podcast. You can just go find the old video. This is just a quick run through. But yeah, we can move on to the MAC, where I have Ohio, led by Parker Navarro, winning the MAC.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good season last year. I think they'll have a good season again. JP?
I've got Miami of Ohio, the Red Hawks, led by Daquan Finn. Air raid system. I think they'll get it done this year and win the MAC.
Bet.
I also have Ohio. Shout out Timothy Chalamet for the Parker Navarro name drop on game day. I hope do they repeat hosts or like guests?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Well, I hope we can get him back on because he was a fantastic guest. But I also have not Miami, Ohio. JP's in my brain. I have Ohio, just the same as Jack. Did we break down, was Navarro like on the preseason like watch list for best quarterback in the country?
He was.
Okay, so that's a big deal. And then Tucker is going Toledo. One of our friends, I believe, picked. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Jackson has Toledo ranked, so Jackson's probably right there with you, Tucker.
Having Toledo ranked is crazy, but
the website currently doesn't have a Toledo picture, a Toledo mascot.
I tried fixing that and have not figured out why that doesn't work. But if you use the website to rank your teams, Toledo does not have a logo right now.
Shouldn't be an issue because people shouldn't be ranking Toledo.
Yeah. Tucker, real quick, are you ranking Toledo because of what we saw from them last year or what you expect from them this year? That's what I'm curious about. Because I almost did it, but then I realized if I did it, it would just be as a meme because we lost them last year. Like, I do think genuinely that Ohio is going to win the conference. But I almost picked Toledo because they beat us.
Fair enough. Mountain West next.
I can start this one off because, well, I guess this applies to me and JP. I have my Mountain West champion making the playoff in UNLV. New head coach Dan Mullen inherits a program that won 11 games last year, like 11-3.
Sure.
And they had a chance to make the playoffs in the conference championship game because if they had beat Boise State, I believe they would have been the fifth conference champion to make it. So they were one game away from making it last year. They bring in a head coach who has had success at not smaller schools, but with lower standards than he did at Florida.
Less with more.
Right. He's done more with less.
Yes.
And less with more, because at Florida he did less with more.
True.
So I think Dan Mullen.
That's a tired, bad take.
Okay.
Because he was literally in the SEC championship, a game for the playoff.
This is true. And then it all fell apart.
Yeah.
He didn't recruit. That's the only reason he was fired.
So he did less with less.
Yep. There we go. So Dan Mullen, anyway. But he can't do more with less and less with less at the same time.
Well, I mean, depending on the situation.
That's fair. I'm excited to see what Dan Mullen does there without Zach Arnett after that fell apart. That was awesome. Very funny to watch unfold. But I've got UNLV winning it, and then both y'all have Boise State. You want to talk about that?
I mean, I just think they're the standard for this conference, and I think as good as Ashton Genty was, the rest of the team's getting a little overlooked. So I just feel like they're getting a little disrespected. Maddox Madsen, I think, is a good quarterback. They're going to have a good offensive line again. You're not going to have an Ashton Genty in the backfield. They still have good options, though, at running back there. And I have them making the playoff just because it kind of feels like the winner of this conference is going to end up making the playoff.
Yeah. And I will apologize for my claim about Dan Mullen. I have forgotten that he went to 3 New Year's 6 bowls in 4 years at Florida.
Kind of crazy that, I mean, he literally did just shoot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
Because he stopped trying.
Who?
Dan Mullen.
He
with not recruiting. Like, he legitimately just, like...
Well, that's not his MO. He's never been a recruiter.
Yeah, but to just, like...
He's been, a developer? Would you say that's his MO?
Yeah.
And it just didn't work at Florida, or he just...
That's just not what Florida and the boosters want.
Yeah, that's fair.
They want top 5 recruiting classes because they have the capability of doing that.
Yeah, which I'm saying he shot himself in the foot because...
No, I disagree with that. They just didn't want him doing what he was doing, and now they paid the price for that.
Yeah, I think Jack's point is that
he got fired because he didn't know what they wanted him to do, and that's on him.
And it was doable. Like, it was a doable thing.
I don't think that's... As a head coach, you were brought in to be the leader of the program. That's your program.
Yeah.
You should do it the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
But see, it's just realistically not your program. We've seen that time and time again.
And
whether it should be or not, it's always going to be the boosters program and the ADs program, unless you're Nick Saban.
Clearly,
then
we've
it's
seen
your program.
Who was right in that regard, given that Florida has been to 0 New Year's 6 bowls since Dan Mullen.
Well, I'm just saying he's the one that...
But you can also turn that around and say, because he didn't recruit, the guy who inherited that program inherited an unfortunate situation.
It's Florida.
Yeah, but, like... It's still like if he hadn't been recruiting, it still could take a couple years to like recover that.
Kirby inherited a semi-bad program with Mark Ritt in Georgia. They were performing at worse level than the New York 6 Florida teams. No,
they went to the SEC championship like 2011,
and Florida also went to the SEC championship. They didn't make the type of bowl games that Florida was making, and Kirby inherits that, and he built it. Like it's. And arguably, Georgia was a worse program at the time and a worse place to be, the head coach of.
Georgia?
Yes.
And Kirby, how long did it take Kirby to rebuild it? Like 3 years? He's been there since like 2015? And they went to the championship in 2018?
About a decade.
Yeah, so...
Let's move on.
I hate this Dan Mullen hate. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm not hating on Dan Mullen.
I also apologize.
He has Dan Mullen making the playoffs.
Yeah, I apologize for my... poor take about Dan Mullen. I was wrong. I did not realize I just don't remember his tenure at Florida going that well.
Because that's what the people told you.
Yeah.
Well, you got to make that opinion for yourself.
Yeah.
They were literally a game from the college football playoff.
They were a shoes throw, right? Was that right?
A shoe throw for sure. The COVID year.
Yeah. Don't lose to A&M either. Week 3 at Kyle Field. That'll help.
We still have.
I mean, JP's not talked about. JP's not made
Boise
his Mountain West
State.
pick.
Go ahead, JP.
Yeah, I have the Broncos. I agreed with Jack. They're the standard. They're the best team in the Mountain West, and I think the hardest thing for making a claim for anyone else is I don't trust any other Group of 4 or Group of 5 team to go undefeated this year, and I think that's what's going to be needed to top Boise State, and then go undefeated and have kind of like a marquee win. Like Tulane's got that chance. They've got a big game on their schedule with I think it was an SEC school. I forgot. But
I mean, I was good. I thought you were gonna look
UTSA
it
has that chance, arguably.
Sure.
Playing against
for
A&M.
sure. I think it's definitely because it's in
Cincinnati
Kyle
has
Field,
that
right?
chance because they'll play Nebraska on a neutral site.
Cincinnati is a Big 12 team, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
It's tough.
But
all the
still,
2 years ago, they would have had that chance.
Yeah.
I think you would have to go undefeated to top Boise State. And
Is that when you say that? Are you assuming Boise State loses to Notre Dame? They go 12-1 and win the 12-1 and win the conference championship.
They would go 12-1 and win the conference championship.
And so you think another
I think
G5
you're going to have to
team
go
would have to be undefeated
because I expect them to be competitive with Notre Dame.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a team or two out there you could find a way where, like, oh, this breaks, you don't have to go undefeated. But just a general statement, I agree with that. I don't know, like, for example, I don't know what Tulane's schedule looks like or anything like that. I don't know who all they play. We can move on.
We also have. I mean, we can do American. I didn't make a graphic for it.
Well, we're definitely going to do the American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. That's your team.
Correct. We can just do the American real quick then. I have UTSA winning it. I think they'll have a big bounce back. They weren't necessarily great last year, but I really like Jeff Traylor as a head coach. And decided to get weird with it, I guess. So go UTSA, go Roadrunners. Except week 1, it's not go Roadrunners.
Yeah. I've got Tulane. I picked Tulane to come out of that conference. And like JP said, I mean, Tulane has a chance. Did you find who they have?
Yes, they played Northwestern, Duke, and at Old Piss.
So
they've got 3 chances. Realistically, 2, because Northwestern wouldn't really count as much.
But if you win that Northwestern
they're
game,
more than likely favored in that game.
Is it?
In fact, they are. They're favored by 6.
Away?
That would be a home game for
Crazy.
Tulane in New Orleans. They're favored by 6 right now. So that's not really the marquee win that you would think. But, yeah, at Ole Miss, and then they will host Duke this year.
Oh.
In New Orleans as well.
That's the Darian Mensah homecoming?
Return game, yeah.
Yes. Right now they are favored by ESPN, but there's no spread on it yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Tulane does have, I think if you win that Northwestern game and then win that Duke game and maybe lose at Ole Miss,
they
you're
could
kind
make
of in
the
a
same
similar boat
argument as Boise State last year, and a lot of these teams could play close against a high competition. Now, a part of that is you need Ole Miss to be good this year, and
Duke.
That's no guarantee. Duke, maybe not necessarily, but it wouldn't hurt.
I mean, it would give you the P4 win that Boise State didn't have last year.
A big argument for the Boise State was the fact that they lost by 3 to the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff, and arguably the best team all season in the regular season, both offensively and defensively. I don't think Tulane's got that chance with Duke, and I'm low on the School of North personally, but I still would think they'd have to go undefeated or be really close loss to Old Piss.
The fact of the matter is, too, I mean, Boise State just has the, cred as, the best group of 5 team, I feel like.
Yeah.
So, they just kind of have a leg up in that regard anyway. But would you like to talk about your American champ, JP?
Yeah, I've got Navy. I just wanted to have a fun pick. And Blake Horvath returns this year, so I expect them to be productive and have a good season and win the American Conference. I'm also just kind of lower on the competitors in that conference, Tulane, Memphis.
Sure.
Etc., South Florida.
Yeah, makes sense. We can move on to the power conferences now.
We're not picking Pac-12?
I mean,
or Sunbelt? You're just going to
I missed the
Sun
Sunbelt. I apologize.
That's crazy.
There is no Pac-12 champion.
No, I'm kidding.
So I don't know why y'all even picked one.
Well,
no one can legally win the Pac-12.
Win your home,
but I would pick Washington State as well.
Yeah, they're the better team. But the Sun Belt, I apologize to the Sun Belt.
Nah, you good. I didn't have them pulled up in time.
I'll go with the JMU Dukes, my hometown team. Not actually my hometown, but I did live 40 minutes away from campus for 3 to 4 years. Have friends that go to JMU. They just put a good product out on the field. I think they'll be very good again. Good quarterback. And I feel like the Sun Belt is honestly falling off in terms of quality these past couple years, especially just thinking like someone like App State is no longer very good, stuff like that.
And we talked, isn't that the conference where like the FCS like levels up into?
No, Conference USA is still
Thank
worse.
You. Sorry.
Yeah. Conference USA is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Group of 5, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to go with JMU.
I went with Southern Miss. That was more like another, like you said, fun pick. Also, being a Mississippi kid, like it was fun to be able to try and make an argument for them to win it. They bring in the head coach that won it last year, Marshall, or the head coach from Marshall, and they won it last year. They bring in most of that roster. They bring in the quarterback. They bring in some talented guys from that team who had like P4 offers. Especially, I remember one guy from State that we offered and out of the portal, and he followed his coach to Southern Miss. So I picked Southern Miss. I'm excited to see us play them week 1. I am no longer on the we're going to lose that game train. I have now cooled a little bit, and after doing the Mississippi State preview, I think we are better than that. So,
what about on your save, though?
Oh, yeah. So I was playing – what was I doing? I was playing College Football 26, and I was doing a road to glory as a cornerback, just like goofing around. I wanted to see what it was like, and – I get enrolled at Oregon, and I look to see how good Kamari Taylor is, and he's not on the roster anymore. And he transferred to Southern Miss. And me and Jack were like, this does not bode well for our week 1 matchup.
Nah, y'all got it.
If College Football 26 has Kamari Taylor transferring. Apparently, one of my other friends got him to transfer to Clemson. He's a big Clemson guy, so he got him out of the portal. So, yeah.
That's tough. Appreciate it, Be Athletic 503.
Facts. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for the praise. But, JP, who do you have winning the Sun Belt?
I've got Gata, and I need to pull up the text that I just had, too. This is largely in part because of our Georgia Southern correspondent, who's no longer a student there anymore, but he's still plugged into the program. Thomas Mickle, also our resident Falcons fan. He's really high on Georgia Southern this year, thinks they're going to win the conference. I believe they're the 5th odds to win the conference, but they're below plus 1,000, so it's possible.
Yeah.
I think in the SEC, a bunch of the teams are right there in that pack. They play at USC, which will be an interesting game. He's really worried, they play at James Madison, who's the favorite to win the conference, and rightfully so. He's really worried about that game. It's more than likely going to be a night game as well. And get this, James Madison, the price, what do you think the ticket price is for Georgia Southern at James Madison, week 5?
Like the average price?
What's the lowest price?
The lowest?
$149.
$8.
$198. For context, James Madison hosts Washington State later on in the year. Technically a Power 5 team. The lowest ticket price is $84. It is almost twice. It's more than twice as expensive.
Jamie knows what that game means.
Georgia Southern and James Madison. That is pretty much going to be the game that kind of decides who goes to the conference championship, in my eyes at least.
Sure.
But J.C. French, I just told you the name, learn the name, know the name, because he's the quarterback at Georgia Southern, and they are really high on him in camp. Also, Bryson Broadway, who I mentioned a long time ago in our breaking news. He's really high on Georgia Southern this year. No surprise. He graduated from Georgia Southern.
They have something to play for this year, too. They're doing in memory of freedom.
Yep.
So I hope to see some For Freedom shirts or something like that this season. Can always help you play a little better when there's some emotional attachment. Hard on the line. But
I don't know either, Tyler, but we're happy you're here. Happy you clicked on it.
I'm just really sad about freedom now all of a sudden. Well, you should watch because it's really fun, Tyler.
We also do every other sport. It's just college football's in season. So if you're a basketball guy, come back in. If you're college basketball, come back in
No, if you're a basketball guy, subscribe and then come back. hang out in the live chat. We got some good live chatters. You can just talk about
Watch out for
whatever
Chromie there.
Yeah, Chromie will gaslight you out the wazoo.
Stay away from him. We can move on to the power conferences now. We'll just go alphabetical order for these.
That
The
starts
ACC is
at
the
A.
first one, and
Yeah.
I think we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
Clemson Tigers is my champion for the ACC. It is both of y'all's actually now that I can see it for sure as well. Do they have the biggest gap in terms of first to second, odds wise?
In the Power 4?
In the Power 4,
yes.
Yeah.
They have the biggest gap in the Power 4.
I've not really seen anyone else not pick Clemson. Why do y'all have Clemson though? What's the?
For me, it's talent. I don't actually. I wish I had pulled it up while you were talking. The number of guys they have projected to go in this year's draft is insane. The number of sophomores they have that'll be first rounders in next year's draft. It's a very talented roster. And then we did our whole conversation about Dabo and Clemson and the program and where they are in college football. But Dabo Swinney's just a very good coach. And he's got 2 national championships in his time there. So I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Chromie is already cooking over there. Yeah, I think that the way that he has this roster set up for this year, I don't know if it's going to work out and win them a championship, but I don't see anyone else winning the ACC. Not to say anyone else won't compete. Miami could certainly compete in the ACC, but I don't see anyone else winning it.
Fair. JP, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, they have championship or bust mentality, both in-house and out-of-house in the fan base. Kate Klubnik, one of the Heisman favorites, top 5 draft pick candidate. Receivers are going to be great with TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, Antonio Williams. Running back is a big question there, which I think is the only concern for me right now, as both a Tiger fan and as a person who's going to pick Clemson to be in the national championship game. Adam Randall transferred from receiver in the team to running back at the end of last year. He's more than likely going to be the starting running back. They do expect to get Jay Haynes back at some point, who was a talented freshman last year who tore his ACL in the ACC championship. And he's expected to come back and play as a sophomore this year. It's in some kind of backup role. And they hope to see the explosiveness from him there. Sure. Defensively, this is a Clemson defense with TJ Parker, Wyatt Woodaz. I mean, the linebacker group is great. The defensive line is great. The biggest question for them is going to be in the secondary this year again. They kind of got tore apart in the secondary, and there's some good passing offenses in the ACC. I will say in the ACC, there are many ways for Clemson to even miss the conference championship game. Miami, it would be really hard for Miami to not be in the conference championship game because their ACC schedule is ridiculously easy. They don't play Clemson. They play SMU, and they don't play Georgia Tech. So they literally they'll play Louisville, but they'll host Louisville. They go to SMU, and that's really it for a tough game perspective for Miami. I will say, though, they play 7 straight weeks to end the season. The last 2 are on the road at Virginia Tech, at Pittsburgh, which will both be 30-degree weather for a Miami football team. And if they were to make the ACC championship, that'd be 8 straight weeks, and it's probably going to be cold in Charlotte. It almost always is for the ACC championship.
Sure.
So that's a potential challenge for Miami. But the path is Miami is going to go undefeated in the ACC, more than likely. Then it's SMU, Georgia Tech. And if Clemson stumbles in either of those, they'll lose the head-to-head, and Georgia Tech and SMU can both go 7-1 in the conference, and Clemson could be out of the ACC championship.
Which would be crazy.
And that is very crazy, considering how dominant they are in the ACC and have been since Dabo Swinney joined the conference. Really, Florida State's been the only other pressure in the conference for an extended period of time. So there's some concern there, which I'm actually less confident about them winning the ACC than I am about them making the semifinals.
Okay.
How do you feel about their out-of-conference matchups with LSU and South Carolina? Because if they drop one of those Georgia Tech or SMU games, and then all of a sudden your 2 SEC losses, which the SEC is a good conference, you're 2 losses away from being 9-3 again.
I'm less worried about that because that's not kind of been Clemson's MO. Now, it kind of has been in recent memory because, I mean, the Georgia game destroyed last year. They lose the South Carolina game as well. Even you go back to, like, the year after COVID, they lost the Notre Dame game at Notre Dame. So they haven't been quite as dominant in those high-profile games. They lost the Georgia game as well with DJ Uiagalelei. But I feel good about those because, one, they host LSU at home. I think that makes a massive difference, especially for week 1, where both teams don't know their identity. And so with the home crowd behind Clemson, I think they're going to win that game and cover. It shouldn't have much of a problem there. And then the South Carolina game, South Carolina hasn't won the Palmetto Bowl in Columbia since 2013.
Yeah.
Now, South Carolina has been good in that extended period, and Clemson has been excellent. But that has kind of been how it's been. That's kind of just the story of the rivalry right now, and I expect them to, clean up there. Although as we'll learn later, I'm really high on South Carolina this year, but I have a reason for that. I'm less worried about those games than I am for the slip-up, because that is something that they do.
Sure.
Last year, Louisville, the year they won the national championship with Deshaun Watson, they lose to Pittsburgh at home. So this is a team that can lose those kind of profile games. So I'm more worried about, like, hosting SMU, and especially, like, late in the season for Clemson, I'm worried, going to Louisville in Week 12. That's going to be a really tough game, I think.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. I mean, you said a lot of good points. You're kind of our Clemson guy on the show, our Clemson correspondent. Before we move on to the Big 12, I want to hit the question in chat.
Yeah, let's talk to B.
Thoughts on Bryce Underwood? I'm really high on him. I think we all three are very high on him. Overall, as a prospect, I will say he's going to be a true freshman.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the supporting cast is going to be this year at Michigan. So while I'm really high on his long-term outlook, and I still think he'll have a pretty good freshman year, I'm not sure he's necessarily going to put up crazy numbers because of the supporting cast, and also he plays at Michigan, and they're just not a high-flying offense. Even when their offense is at its best, it's a run-first, ground-and-pound type offense.
Championship year, they had two projected NFL running backs. I think they both ended up
Blake Cromie and Dylan Edwards.
Corum, yeah.
Corum.
Yeah.
Cromie.
Yeah, Cromie's in the chat. You good. Then Dylan, I think, who was it that just got the younger one who ended up not getting drafted?
Dylan Edwards.
Yeah.
Dylan Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
So
the fall off is
on
crazy.
The cover of
on the and just ended up.
That may become a new curse. We'll see.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
So I also am high on Bryce Underwood. We talked about him, and if you were really interested, if you look in our YouTube, we have a whole 10-minute video talking about Michigan. We go into Bryce Underwood. I went back. So JP talked about his film. I went back and watched it. JP compared him to Lamar Jackson. I would compare him more to Trevor Lawrence. I think he's not quite as shifty as Lamar Jackson, but he's got the straightaway speed. Like once he gets in the open, he's super tall. He's 6'4", something like that.
6'5" or 6'6".
6'5", 6'6". Yeah. So he's got long strides. He's quick, or he's fast. I wouldn't call him quick, but he is fast once he gets out in the open field, and he does have a very good arm. And I think he's actually in a fantastic situation, even though he doesn't have weapons, because Michigan's defense, as Michigan is, they're just going to be fantastic.
Should be.
And so they're going to need 18, 20 points a game in 75% of their games to win. Now you run into Ohio State, you're going to need to put up some points, but in the majority of the games...
Not against Ohio State you don't, because they just crumble at the feet of Michigan. Yeah.
True. But I think that he's not going to have a lot of pressure on him in the sense that it's not going to be entirely on him to win games. I think he's going to have a lot of pressure on him in that he's getting paid $12 million and he's the number one player in the country this year. But Bryce reminds me Cam Newton's size, Terrell Pryor's speed. I mean, his size, I feel like, and he's also a freshman, but Cam Newton is just so big.
Well, Cam Newton got big.
Right, Cam Newton. So I'll be interested if Bryce fills out. And
for Bryce to come in at the size he's already at is pretty ridiculous for a college freshman.
Right?
That's the joke.
No, there was a photo that circulated of him, his jersey cropped up, and he has a stomach because 99% of people have a stomach and not washboard abs, and all of the Ohio State fans are like, Bryce Underwood's fat.
Yeah, but no, he's very well built for a freshman, so there is a chance he just keeps getting even bigger. Give your thoughts on him real quick, JP.
Yeah, I just want to see him develop. I think that's the biggest thing right now. I love what I see in the highlights of his high school, but I want to see that translate to the Big Ten. I want to see that translate against Big Ten defenses.
Sure.
I want to see that translate in big moments as well, which they will have this year at Oklahoma in week 2, hosting Ohio State in the Big House. Like, I want to see how he performs in those moments right now, because that's the only thing I don't know right now. He was the best player on the field every single time in high school. When he steps into these big games and he's not the best player on the field, how does he perform in the big moments? Because that's really the only question. And that's kind of been how we've flushed out top overall recruits. You want to think of former 5-stars, like how do they perform in big moments? DJ Uiagalelei is one that comes to mind immediately for me. It's just like he was great in his first one against Notre Dame, but from there on he was just not really great in these big 5-star moments where his talent is supposed to carry the team. And so that's something I want to see from Bryce Underwood.
Yeah. I think he's at a great place for development, though, because I feel like, I mean, it's hard to say this because I'm not in the program, but I feel like Michigan is someone that is willing to take a little slow, and they're fully bought in on the kid. And this is, in their eyes, a multi-year project with them and multi-year rebuild, to where sophomore year, junior year is when they're really top dogs in the Big Ten and trying to compete for championships. So even though he does have a lot of pressure because he got paid a ton, I feel like he has a lot of room to play and grow this year, and they'll just keep rolling with them.
Yeah, we're going to find out later that I disagree with this being a multi-year thing.
Sure.
But I will end up talking about Michigan more. But great question, B. That was a fun conversation. We want to do Big 10 next?
Big 12.
Big 12?
Yeah.
Numerically, 10 comes first, but we'll do Big 12.
It's fine. Whatever. I got the furry-led team, allegedly. He's not actually a furry. I wish. TCU, kind of getting back on the top of the Big 12 after a couple-year hiatus. I think their offense is going to be great, led by Josh Hoover, kind of a pocket passer. I just think they're going to be in a spot to put up a ton of points in the Big 12. It's the Big 12. They'll probably lose a game or two, but they'll find themselves in that conference championship game, and they'll find a way to win it, assuming their defense can improve a little bit this season, and I expect it to. So I have TCU winning it because it's not the Big 12 if, like, a kind of strange pick doesn't win.
Well,
it.
There's no real wrong pick.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Last year's the example is they were the second worst odds to win the Big 12, and they end up winning it, dominating the Big 12 championship, and then nearly beating Texas, if not for a targeting call that was reversed. So there's really no incorrect pick, except I would say an incorrect pick is probably Oklahoma State or UCF.
Yeah.
That
or Houston,
that
Chromie.
didn't seem likely, especially given, like, even the coaching situation is like, well, Mike Gundy's been there for a long time. I don't think he's necessarily like the new guy in the block and he can lead something. Scott Frost is the same. He's been coaching for a long time. Kenny Dillingham, not. Like, he was a new guy on the block, and he was really able to lead that team. And then they kind of just turned some guys into NFL prospects, and Sam Levitt, Cam Scatterbo, and Jordan Tyson.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about the Arizona State-Texas game. Did you see you know how they had that missed field goal in regulation that, like, bounced through the uprights?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see people pulling, like, rule book where it said, like, you know, if the refs are allowed to accept a bounced-in field goal as points?
I did not know that.
I didn't see that
It was Instagram reels, so take it with a grain of salt, but it was, like, screenshots of the rule book.
Wasn't
so,
that
like,
the end of half?
It was to end the first half, yeah. And so everyone was like, if the refs had done their job and counted the bouncing field goal, Arizona State would have won by 3.
Well, the second half might have went differently. Who knows?
This is true.
Very
but
true.
That was like, I remember being like, there's no, like, if the refs, I should have followed up and, like, opened the rule book, but I'm sure it's hundreds of pages long. I didn't want to do that. But people do be digging. I picked Arizona State to repeat. I actually initially picked TCU when we did our Big 12 preview show. And then I was filling out my bracket today, like my playoff bracket, and just putting TCU in just left me feeling like, ugh. It's like, I just don't see this happening. I do not see TCU finishing at the top of the Big 12 and making the playoffs. And maybe that's just because Arizona State, like, I am pre-biased because they've already been in the playoffs, so I see them as a playoff team. But I picked Arizona State to win it. They bring back Sam Levitt, who put himself on the map last season. Put himself on the map last season. Goes into this season as a
first round pick.
First round pick. and trying to kind of increase his draft stock. Jordan Tyson comes back. He missed the last couple games of last year with injury. It should be really exciting. They do lose Cam Scadaboo, but they bring in the Army running back. I think it's going to set up to go well, and they have the benefit. Everyone in the Big 12 has the benefit of you can win 2 conference games and still go to the Big 12 championship, and once you're in it, it's really anyone's game.
Lose 2 conference games and still make
What
it.
did I say?
Win 2.
Oh, yes, lose. You cannot win. I mean, you can't. You have to win
More than 2.
or
yeah.
more.
JP, who do you have winning it?
Yeah, I'm not on Arizona State just because they have tough road games this year at Utah.
Sure.
At Iowa State.
At Mississippi State.
Mississippi State didn't hold anything.
Undefeated Mississippi State.
But at Baylor would be the third one there. And those are just 3 tough ones. And so for me, I have them losing all 3 of those road games and going 9-3 and 6-3 in the Big 12. I've got Kansas State. Kansas State, fun fact, plays 10 Big 12 games. So in the event they go 8-2, they get into the Big 10 or Big 12
because their win percentage is higher
over a team that's 7-2.
Yeah.
So that could play a factor this year.
Are they really counting the extra? So like in baseball, we play a mid-series or midweek game against Ole Miss every year.
Yes.
And it does not count. So they're counting the extra week 0 game.
It counts as a conference game.
Wow.
As far as I know right now. Arizona also plays an extra conference game, but they don't play in the Ireland game like Kansas State does. Iowa State still plays 9 conference games, who also plays Kansas State here in less than 72 hours. So I think that helps them a ton,
huge.
making the Big 12 championship game, to be able to go 8-2 this year and still be there. But I have them going 9-1. I have their only loss is Week 14 at Utah. That's cold weather. Utah's a really tough place to play with, the history there, and it's just I think they'll lose that one. But I'm really interested for the Big 12 because there are so many swing games, and for almost every team there's a swing game because all of these top 7 or so teams play each other. Like I think only one of these schools doesn't play 3 or more of the teams in the top 5, give or take. So Texas Tech is going to have a game where they'll play at Utah. That could swing who makes the Big 12 championship game. Utah is the same. Baylor hosts multiple teams that are in contention.
That's kind of sick.
That's really cool.
Did y'all win?
Yeah, facts. Did y'all win? There's no way. If he said he was unreal, I kind of get the feeling that he kind of cooked him.
I'm going to use that too now when I have eventually when I start ranking my quarterbacks for the draft. I haven't seen enough Sam Levitt to have a take on him, but for you to say that he's unreal,
having coached against him.
Yeah, I'm going to need to use that.
That is awesome. Bro, I'm that's that's the biggest deal that's happened in our comments.
Yeah,
so far.
that's really cool.
Sorry, Chromie. I know I know you're great at climbing
full shade.
That's awesome, B.
But I've got Kansas State 11-1 winning the Big 12, and I have them beating Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship.
Sure. Tough news for Texas Tech too this week, losing Quentin Joyner.
That was very tough.
Tore his
very tough.
ACL. That's a huge hit for them already, and the season's not even gotten started yet.
Yep.
But we can move on to the Big 10, not in alphabetical order. That's fine. Numerical order, whatever. I'll go first because I think I'm the only one that's different here.
Yeah.
I have Ohio State winning it all. I think they got the monkey off their back in a big way last season, and so I know they lost a ton, but the way they recruit, the way they bring guys in and develop, and I know JP's not the highest on Julian Sayin, who has now won the job since we did their preview. I'm more than confident he can get the job done. He also just has great weapons to throw to. He's in a good scheme. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is the best receiver in the country. So I think they'll find a way to find themselves in the Big Ten title game and win it. With that being said, I do have them losing to Washington at Washington. That is one of my on the records this season. But they'll bounce back just fine from that and make the title game. Which
means you have them beating Penn State and Michigan.
They don't necessarily have to beat Michigan.
Who do you have in the title game playing them? Do you know?
I probably will have Penn State there, just how it shakes out. Yeah, Penn State.
Yeah, that one, that's for me. I have Penn State winning the Big Ten, but I have them losing at Ohio State.
Yeah.
But then I have them winning the rematch.
Sure.
So I think it's would be hard to beat that team twice.
That's fair.
I think it'll be almost easy to beat them in the shoe, to be honest. I think they match up with the size and athleticism of Penn State, and I think that's a game that's going to come down to Drew Aller and their new receivers. That's got to work because Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, I think have a chance to be productive, but last year they weren't. And I know Ohio State replaces a ton on the defensive line, but it could be very, very good replacements, and they expect it to be. And given the weapons offensively, I don't think Julian Sayin or even if it's Tavion St. Clair that starts that game, I think they'll win that game in the shoe. But, yeah, I've got Penn State. I have Penn State winning something as well later, which I'll talk about later. Drew Aller, the two backs, I really like the receiver room. I think the additions are going to be really, really good. The news from that so far is really, really good from people that have been to camp, from people inside their own circles.
Sure.
James Franklin himself loves what they added. Their biggest one for what they were looking for was they had nobody who could go up and make the contested catch to win the jump ball, to win the 50-50. And with a quarterback as capable as Drew Aller, he really had only one opportunity or one option for that last year, and that was Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren made a ton of those catches. But now they think they have at least 2 or 3 guys that can do that at Penn State. And I think it'll just bring another piece to their offense because I'm really high on Drew Aller as a quarterback.
Sure.
Defensively, they should still be just as good. They lose key pieces in Abdul Carter. But Dennis Sutton, I think, is going to be really, really productive for them this year. Yeah, and I've got Penn State win the conference. Hosting Oregon helps a ton, but I do have them losing at Ohio State.
Yeah. My picks, and we'll see when we get to our top 25s, I give a lot of credit to teams returning quarterbacks, especially really good quarterbacks. When we talked about this in our Big Ten show, but Drew Aller would have been QB2 or QB2A with Shedeur Sanders. According to DJP, I would have had him as QB2 undisputedly. So, I mean, he was fantastic last year and comes back to kind of try and get that number 1 spot. And then they also bring in the defensive coordinator from Ohio State, I believe. Is that right?
Yep.
They lost theirs to Clemson, and then they go in and snatch Ohio State.
Jeff Knowles.
That's a huge get for them. So,
or Jim Knowles.
I think it's Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. The schedule, like them playing Ohio State and then Ohio State playing Oregon, it could create a really interesting 3-way situation.
Yeah, the tiebreaker would get really awkward, especially if all teams had one loss. There's even a route where it goes down to like a coin flip.
Sure.
The first one would be strength of victory, but there's a chance that could be nearly identical between teams.
I feel like, personally, even though I think these are, in my opinion, that's the top tier of the Big Ten, I think there's enough other good teams in the Big Ten that the odds that all 3 only have 1 loss.
I agree.
I don't think that's
Ohio
very
State's
likely.
going to have 2. Ohio State's going to have either Oregon or Penn State, I think. They play both, and they play Michigan. Or they play 1 and they play Michigan.
Play
so
Michigan,
I think they'll have 2.
Washington, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Penn State's even got their own versions of those games. Penn State plays tough. They're at Michigan State. That's a chance that they could lose that. At Iowa, I think, is the one for Penn State.
Sure.
That scares me this year because we've seen that in the past with Ohio State specifically losing at Iowa. Penn State was able to win that game, 2 years ago when both teams were top 10. But I think that's a huge one for Penn State, and that really should be – that's the game you can't throw away because the next game after that is at Ohio State. There's a bye week between the two, but it's very easy to be a look-ahead game, and it's just like, oh, let's just get into the bye week. Got to go play at Iowa. So I'm scared of that one for Penn State this year. But I do think it's a fair point. I think it's very possible that we're going to have 2-loss team in the Big Ten championship this year.
Yeah.
I think one of them is going to go undefeated. For me, it's Ohio State. But I think, it's very likely that someone has 2.
Wait, you said, but you have Ohio State winning the Penn State game in the regular season and
Penn
losing
State
the
gets
rematch.
revenge. Yeah.
Yes.
I just looked. So the Oregon-Penn State game is a whiteout. We have the Tennessee game that day. And so I'm really hoping we get like an afternoon. I'll even take a morning slot because I have to work.
It's currently in the flex
it's
spot.
in the flex
So
spot.
it'll be afternoon or night game. You need to.
If we're like 4-0 going into that game, I'll take the night game, and I won't look at my phone, and I'll try and rewatch the Penn State Oregon game for the first. That would be kind of fun to like watch it at like midnight, started at midnight, and then not know how it ends. That's probably gonna be impossible.
Just but if we're
now if we're 2-2 going to that Tennessee game,
which we won't.
Yeah, true. I forgot we open with our 3 easiest, or we have 3 of our 4 easiest games.
Sure.
Yeah, I hope we get the afternoon slot so that I can finish up.
I'm just happy the Whiteout's a night game this year. It makes it more fun.
Yes.
But
so looking at B, they won. They beat Sam Leavitt in the semifinals, which is, that's crazy.
In spite of Sam Leavitt's best efforts, it seems.
320 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Did what he could.
Yeah.
All right, we can move on to SEC as the last conference.
I'm going to write that one down, Be Athletic. Presence, he made every kid fear him. I'm going to look for that, too, this season. I want to see that. Because that.
Can we get a year?
I'll believe it too, because he just kind of plays with a little bit of moxie.
Oh,
so it makes sense. And then imagine that as a high schooler, and you got to go play him. And yeah, I would fear him too. All right, SEC, y'all are once again on the same page here.
Yeah.
And I'm on the different page, but I'm gonna make y'all go first this time. Who do y'all have winning it?
I picked Georgia.
Over who in the conference championship? Do you know?
I think I'm gonna end up picking Texas. I think I'm gonna have Texas with 1 loss, and it's gonna be at Georgia. And let me double check that just to be sure that's how I see it playing out.
Unfortunately, Texas is losing week 14.
Yeah, I do not see Georgia winning. I don't see Texas losing any of the games other than at Georgia. But I do not see them winning that game. I've got Texas, Georgia. Georgia goes 2-0 yet again. But yeah, the Georgia. One of our key points when we did the Texas preview was, can they topple the big dogs in the SEC? And my answer to that question was no.
Sure.
But I also, did you see this comment talking about the SEC championship, JP? We had someone in our comments have Texas lose to 4 games. They lost to Ohio State, Georgia, A&M, and one other team. And
Oklahoma.
no, it was
just those.
It was those 3, and
Oklahoma.
then they lost out. No, they lost to Alabama in the conference championship game. So they went 9-3 in the regular season, 6-2 in conference play, and then lost to Alabama. Which I told them, I was like, I don't think that's possible, because
it's possible.
Georgia would have to lose 3 conference games.
Georgia would have to lose 3 conference games for that to happen.
But it is possible.
That's possible.
It is possible. Unlikely is what I think I probably should have said. I don't know if I said possible or not. Talk about your pick, Georgia.
Yeah, I've got the Dogs, 11-1 this year. For me, it's just I really like their schedule. I like the way it works out for them this year. Hosting Texas, hosting Alabama, hosting the school up north. The Georgia Tech game, although it holds no impact on the conference, is in a neutral site, which is arguably a home game for Georgia because they play there once a year, if not twice a year. And in recent history, it's been twice a year.
Wait, where is it?
At Atlanta.
Yeah.
In Mercedes-Benz. The Tennessee game was one that scared you, 4 months ago. But now that Nico's gone at Tennessee, they should have no fear. And they really should have had no fear anyway going into that game. I think the Georgia-Florida game is big for them this year. I have them losing that game. I think Florida finally wins the Georgia-Florida game in Jacksonville this year with DJ Lagway. But I got Georgia going 11-1, and I have them beating South Carolina in the SEC championship game this year. And I'm going to go ahead and say it now because now this will be put in 2 different videos, and I want this to be in 2 different videos because I like this take a lot. I just think this year I really expect one of the star quarterbacks that isn't in that top tier of the top 3 teams in the SEC to lead their team to the SEC championship, maybe, but more specifically lead them to the playoff. And that would be Lenore Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Lagway, John Mateer. I think one of those guys is just going to do it. I don't see a route where all of those teams cannibalize themselves or they just have terrible seasons like the season Oklahoma had last year, the season Florida had 2 years ago. I think one of those guys is just going to lead the team and lead them to the conference championship. I have South Carolina losing it to Georgia and then making the playoff because the loser of the SEC championship is going to be in the playoff regardless of
Agreed.
what happens. South Carolina is the pick for me, but that could be interchanged. I think that very easily could be interchanged with Florida, given their non-con schedule. Getting to play Miami helps them a ton, and then getting to play Florida State. If Florida State were to be anything at the end of the year, that's another marquee win. So even if they were, a 2 or 3 loss SEC team, they very easily could be in the playoff. Oklahoma, everyone's really high on, or a lot of people are really high on them, as I could see it happen. And then LSU's the most likely of all of that, and I think they've got the schedule that pans out for them. But I'm going to pick, hopefully, future Saint. Although right now it's not looking good. I need him to actually be bad this season, because right now he's trending to be the number 1 overall pick.
Lenore Sellers.
And we're not going to be the worst team in the NFL this year. I'll go ahead and guarantee that.
Can always trade up.
We don't have the capital to trade up.
Fair
I don't
enough.
feel like, unless someone wants Tyler Shuck, which he could play that himself into that.
You could have a
conversation.
1,000-yard season from Olave and move him.
Yeah, I don't think Olave is
the Panthers.
viewed that highly. But South Carolina is my pick for that. I think it's just impossible that one of them, because I am high on all of them. I think all of them are really, really good and have the chance to be really, really good this year. I think it's really hard for one of those teams to not carry their team to the playoff. The conference championship, I think, is going to be tough because Texas and Alabama should be in there. I think it would be really hard to say that they are in there with Georgia, that 2 of those 3 aren't in there.
Yeah.
I have them a step behind South Carolina, and they're only not there because they have 2 conference losses.
That's what I was going to ask, was what was the win?
They're all 10-2. I
Okay.
have them all 10-2, but South Carolina is 7-1, with one of their losses being to Clemson at the end of the year.
Sure.
So, yeah, South Carolina won the tiebreaker with Texas, actually, at 7-1 each to make the SEC championship. But I have Georgia winning the conference, all that said.
Yeah.
Cool. Appreciate the sub, Curbman.
Shout out Curbman, and then back to Be Athletic, because this is just so there's your year, JP. Write it down so you don't forget. 2022, that he blew them out. Sam Levitt did, and then in 2023 they won 12-7. So I guess the 2022 was the year Levitt.
Well, I mean, they just played a ton of games in that time frame.
Yeah. Looks like they. Yeah.
Cool. You also have Georgia, Sanders?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I said
You
it
already
at the
talked about it.
beginning.
Yeah. I went a different route. I like Georgia. I think I have Georgia in my playoff. I'm a little worried about Gunnar Stockton's ceiling. And while Georgia doesn't need high-profile QB play to be great, I think there's a couple matchups where they will find that like having the much worse quarterback is going to hurt them. If they find up in a game with Lenore Sellers, and Lenore Sellers is finding ways to extend plays and make plays for his team.
Absolutely.
And Gunnar Stockton can't do that. Or even if Ty Simpson ends up being really good, or Garrett Nussmeier, or something like, or Arch Manning, it's just like, at some point having the much worse QB on the field, I think is going to come back to bite them. I have Alabama winning the SEC championship. I think their defense is so talented, and then combined with their offense that I think is going to be really good again. I think we're going to see more of a Kalen DeBoer, Washington-type offense, throwing the ball all around, being really aggressive on 4th down, just going for the throat at all times. I love that, and I think we're going to see it a lot more this year. Combined with that defense shoring up the run, I think they're going to be really tough to beat this year. I love Kalen DeBoer. That's a well-known fact, and so I'm just kind of banking on that.
Yeah.
Alabama's going to be back this year.
The one thing I will say, after we did our Ty Simpson discussion during the Alabama preview, I went back and watched his tape, and I really wish I'd watched it beforehand because I was kind of underimpressed. He played 3A football, and he was just so much bigger than every guy out there. I mean, some of the guys out there look like they were like 5'9", 130 pounds, and they were playing like linebacker. And so his arm, there were just so many open throws. I didn't see him make a lot of tough throws, which that's not entirely his fault, but there just wasn't a lot that stood out to me as like, yes, this is the guy. He's like 6'1", 6 foot. He's not big. So I'd just I'd push back a little bit because you just said that you think it's gonna hurt Georgia not having the best quarterback on the field at some point. And I wonder, is Alabama going to get hurt the same way? Because we don't know about Ty Simpson yet. And watching his high school film, because we don't have a lot of college film, other than when he got benched in the USF game. Just wasn't super impressed.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable in saying that I expect Ty Simpson to be a better quarterback than Gunnar Stockton, and at least be competitive in the sense of, like, Gunnar Stockton, I think, is going to find himself in matchups where he's considerably the worst quarterback, and I think Ty Simpson can at least close that gap. I'm not saying I think Ty Simpson is going to be the best quarterback in the SEC, but also I love Ryan Grubb's offense, what he did at Washington, what he did last year at Seattle. I think he's really good at scheming up easy throws for his quarterback and making things really easy for them and really simple. Now it's really nice to have a QB like Michael Penix that, all of a sudden will just dot someone up down the sideline. But they don't necessarily have to have that to be really good, in my opinion, in that offense. So that's why I'm not too concerned about it. I'm not going to say there's zero concern because we haven't seen him start, and we've seen so many great quarterbacks. When they get into the starting role, it just doesn't click for them. So I'm not going to say there's zero concern, but I'm not terribly concerned.
This is the year of concern. There's literally like maybe 3 teams you could say there isn't necessarily a lot of concern about them. Clemson, Penn State.
Yeah.
I think.
Are you saying just quarterback or in general?
Like in general.
In general, okay.
Clemson, Penn State, Texas, I would say, are the
Texas,
3 biggest, no huge
I think
concerns.
LSU's like a step behind in that conversation because we've seen Nussmeier start already, and he was really productive last year. Yeah, this is the year of questions.
Yeah.
Alabama's got that, I think, in Ty Simpson. The question about him for me is I wonder how he'll do throwing the ball down the field deep. That is was a big part of Washington's offense.
Correct. They're going to take shots.
When they made the national championship game, and I haven't seen enough of them to know whether or not he is great at that. I think he's good at it. I think he's great right now, 20 yards and in. And I think that's going to help them a ton. I agree. They're going to be really aggressive offensively. I think they're going to surprise people in that way. But they're going to rely on defense, I think, more often than not this year. And I'm not low in them. I have them going 10-2. I just have them losing 2 conference games.
Lose. Correct.
And someone's going to be left out of Alabama, Texas, and Georgia. That's guaranteed. For me, I have 2 of them being left out. But those teams are going to make the playoff if they get to 10 wins, pretty much guaranteed.
Oh, for sure. And, yeah, you are right, Tucker. Like, high school, that was 3 years ago, I think, for him. I think he just finished his redshirt sophomore year. So it was forever ago, but it's also all we really have to go on.
Yeah. The only other tape is the game at South Florida, which he was not great in. But I think
it was a tough spot.
That was 2 years ago as well.
Yeah.
That was under a completely different coaching staff, a completely different offense, a completely different way of life. I think this is the big thing for people that need to grasp this, and they haven't grasped it yet. It's a completely different program with Kalen DeBoer. This is not Nick Saban's Alabama. They're not going to be like that. Now, defensively, they're elite, like Nick Saban teams. But offensively, it's completely different in my eyes.
Agreed.
And I think that could help Ty Simpson a ton this year. They did not have necessarily the weapons that year. And also, it's just he was a lot younger, and he wasn't ready, clearly. So they had to go with Jalen Milroe from there. I think he's developed a ton since then. I'd be surprised if he wasn't good this year. And I also would think, even if he is bad, and he has a really, really bad start to the Florida State game to open the year, they got 2 options right behind him that I think are just as good in Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, which should pick up on
Keelan. There's
Keelan?
no
No Keelan?
No, there's no I.
Okay, Keelan Russell. Did you want to touch on either?
That's exactly. I was just going to say you have Keelan as a 5-star.
Yep.
I'm not sure about Austin Mack. He's a transfer.
He's a transfer from Washington.
He's been in the system a long time.
So,
and I think the fact that they brought him along with is a huge credit to what he can do. And that's a similar thing I'm going to say about Ty Simpson. I'm reading into it a lot, but the fact that he's still here through the coaching transition, sticks around for another year after not being a starter behind Milroe. In my opinion, I think DeBoer has a lot of trust in him, and they've had good communication kind of behind the scenes and in terms of you're our guy. This is what we expect from you, and we have a lot of confidence that you can do that. And so stick it out. Don't transfer, because he could have immediately transferred and got a chance to start last year somewhere else, or could have transferred this offseason somewhere else and started. So I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah,
there is no concrete evidence of that. That's just reading between the lines. And
they're deep at quarterback and everywhere else.
To speak on Austin Mack, he was actually the guy who came in for Jalen Milroe in the Mercer game at the end of the year when Milroe wasn't playing anymore because there's no reason to hurt him.
Yeah.
Austin Mack came in, not Ty Simpson. And Austin Mack, I thought, had a really good chance to be the starter this year. Didn't pan out in camp, and they went with Ty Simpson. But to be honest, I think he's more athletically gifted than Ty Simpson. But quarterback isn't just about being an athlete. It's about what goes on up here. We've seen that with Anthony Richardson right now in the NFL. That's your prime example of it. So Ty Simpson clearly, I think, has more going there. But Alabama's going to be good. The defense just raises their floor so high this year.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest, is DeBoer the right guy for the job this year? Because last year's a big transition year. This year with the defensive talent, if the defense isn't good, that's a clear coaching issue. If the offense doesn't click again, okay, you're starting to get more of your guys in. That's more of a coaching issue.
It's almost like, and it's not the same as Hugh Freeze, but it is the same thought process of this is your you're starting to put your thumbprints, your handprints all over this, and if it doesn't shake out, then it's on you.
Correct.
And that's kind of the same thing that Auburn and Hugh Freeze are going through right now, where it's like, bro, you've got 3 years of recruiting under your belt. You've got your guys in the building. You've got your 5-star, 4-star transfer quarterback. If you can't make it work,
that's on you.
This is on you now.
Yep, sure.
So it's the exact same for DeBoer and Alabama this year.
All right, let's move on because this wasn't intended to be a crazy long segment, and yet we've managed as normal to pull it into that. Real quick.
I think that's all of the conferences.
It is.
Cool.
Correct. Yeah. Are we going to go to our top 25s next?
Let's do that, then do the playoff.
Cool.
Okay. I think that makes sense to me, too. And I think we just go one by one, and so I can just start with mine.
Yeah.
I want to preface it by, this is going to be very wrong, looking back at it. I did put effort into it, but since it's a preseason top 25, there's not only so much to go off of. There is some just kind of vibe, how good I think this team is going to be, how good they were last year, what they returned, yada, yada, yada. I have Alabama in my top spot. That's more of a projection pick because I have them winning the whole thing, even though they weren't so great last year. But, yeah, I'll just run through it. 1 through 5, Alabama number 1, Texas number 2, Penn State number 3, Clemson 4, Ohio State 5. Your traditional big dogs, they've been good year in and year out for a while now. They're returning a lot. They recruit really well. A lot of them are returning QBs that were great last year or high-profile guys like Arch Manning, Ty Simpson, and they're in systems that are great offensive systems that I trust them to be really good. 6 through 10, I have Georgia at 6, Oregon at 7, Notre Dame 8, Miami 9, LSU 10. Within that, I think there's a tier drop-off between 6 and 7. I'm a little down on Oregon, not going to lie. I still think they're going to be really good, but they have more questions for me than some of the other guys higher up, where they maybe just, the top 6 have, no questions or, nitpicky questions or one question. I think I have a couple big ones for Oregon that I just want to see shake out. So I have them kind of starting the top 2nd tier. Notre Dame, we now know CJ Carr is going to start. I have no idea what to expect from him. You're hearing a lot of rumblings of, this is going to be the best QB that they've had there. I'm blanking on their head coach's name, Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I hope so. I have him in a college keeper
This is going to be the best QB that Marcus Freeman's had. I want to see that to believe it. I think that's a little disrespectful to Riley Leonard, personally, because I think he was really good last year.
Yes.
So either you're disrespecting Riley Leonard or this guy actually is going to be really, really good. Miami, I think their offense is going to be great again, and they're cautiously optimistic out of camp, which everyone is in camp, but they expect their secondary to be much improved. And then combined with the schedule they play, I think they're going to find themselves top 10 throughout the year. Then LSU is kind of your classic not in the top 3 elite pick of the next best team in the SEC. Garrett Nussmeier's back, and I think that's huge. So that rounds out my top 10. Moving on, 11 through 15. I can't see it now, but it's all good.
Oh, my bad.
You're chill.
There you go. LSU.
No, that's JP's.
Oh, I pulled up the wrong. Oops. I'll go pull it back up.
And now I'm trying to think who my 11 is. I can just pull it up on my phone if I need to.
Arizona
if you want to move
State.
stuff around. I have Arizona State at 11, Michigan at 12, Florida 13, Kansas State 14, and then my Texas A&M Aggies at 15. Arizona State, I think, is getting a little slept on, in my opinion, depending on who you ask. But they return a lot outside Scattaboo, and I'm really high on Sam Levitt. I think they're kind of everything you said about why you have them winning it, I agree with. No, I don't have them winning it, but I think expecting a drop-off, I don't see it personally, because also I really think Kenny Dillingham's a great coach, and that what he's building there is going to be sustainable and good for the long term. So I'm big on that personally. Michigan is maybe a little high, but I just love Bryce Underwood, so I was just kind of giving him a shout. Talking about the Tier 2 teams who you think you could see in Atlanta at the SEC Championship, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Florida. I think the talent on their roster around their quarterback is really great, and then you have DJ Lagway to cap it off. Biggest concern for them, I don't think they have the deepest team, so if they start getting hit by injuries,
absolutely,
it could go downhill fast.
And is Lagway or bust there as well?
Sure. No really backup QB. Kansas State just here year in, year out. I don't have them, but I could see this being the year where they finally break through and they find themselves in the playoff. They find themselves winning the conference. Year 3 now in the system for Avery Johnson. I need to see another step from him. We'll see about that. I think A&M's going to have a great defense and great run game, and that gives them a pretty high floor, in my opinion. 16 through 20, I have Illinois, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Georgia Tech, Iowa State. Illinois returns a ton. I don't think they have the highest ceiling, but I expect them to be a really good football program again. Contrary to Ole Miss, who lost a ton, but I think what they do in the portal, and I'm really high on Austin Simmons, so I expect them to have another solid year, if not quite as good as last year. I think they'll be good again. Oklahoma's an impossible team to predict for me because it's just so much new, and they were so bad offensively last year that I know they'll be better, but I don't know if I can buy into them being great offensively because that's just such a big swing. Regardless, they're going to be much better, and their defense is still going to be good, so I have them top 20. Georgia Tech, shout out Aggie legend, Haynes King. He's going to lead the charge there. I think they'll have a very good year. They'll make some noise in the ACC. I don't think they'll go to the title game, but I think they'll at least put themselves in a spot where down the stretch it's like, if they can steal this game, or hey, they're nipping at the heels of the big couple dogs in that conference. Rounding out the top 20, Iowa State. Matt Campbell's done a great job there. They're just good year in and year out. Rocco Becht is back. I'm excited to see him this weekend. That should be a ton of fun. Then rounding out my top 25, I have South Carolina, Nebraska, Indiana, Washington, and USC. I love the North Sellers. I'm just a little worried about what they lost on defense. I think they're a worse roster this year than they were last year, and that scares me. Year 3, Matt Rule with Nebraska, and Dylan Ravioli. I need him to be great for my fantasy team. I think they'll have a good year. Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. They return a lot. I think I dogged on them a little too hard under Indiana preview. I think they'll be good again. Fernando Mendoza, I expect him to have a good year. Washington's my darling this year. I guess I'm just a Washington fan, so they're really my darling this year. They just have been.
Yeah.
Damon Williams is going to be great at QB for them. He's going to be a ton of fun to watch. I think they'll bounce back nicely in year 2 under Jed Fish. And then Lincoln Riley and USC are still very talented. I think Jaden Mayava can make some noise in the Big Ten. Similar to Washington, they're a team I don't expect to make the Big Ten title game, because I think they'll lose too many games, but they're like my prime team, hey, they can upset one of the big dogs. Don't fall asleep at the wheel playing one of those two teams, because they will beat you. So that's my top 25 right there, preseason top 25. Anything stand out to y'all? Any questions you'll have for me while I have a team there?
I mean, I think I'm lower on Georgia Tech than both y'all have Georgia Tech ranked. We will find out soon that I do not. Did you rank? You ranked Boise State? Is that your? No, you didn't rank. So you did not rank a G5.
State,
did
no.
you rank a G5?
I just kind of. No, I
Okay.
don't really do that preseason, to be honest. Which maybe I should, but it's just kind of my MO. It's I just don't do it.
Definitely is not that you should. I was just curious how that your thought process there. It's interesting. I mean, we'll find out when we get to the playoff, but you have Boise State finishing above LSU.
Yeah.
That's just, I guess, as an expectation of ranks. I can go next, JP, if you're all right with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
My ranking, a little bit different. I have at the top Penn State, Clemson, Texas, LSU. And I talked earlier about how my rankings are dictated a lot, at least at the very top tier, by returning quarterbacks, because quarterbacks are so impactful to the game. And you'll find out later, I do not have LSU actually making the playoff, but this is where I have them starting, just due to the talent. They brought in the number 1 transfer class in the country this year. And then Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. He's a potential first overall pick. He's going to be a first rounder in all likelihood if he has a good season. So Penn State, Clemson, Texas, LSU. I'm lower. People are talking me into Arch in our Texas comment section, talking about how well he played. I'm still waiting to actually see him do it over a longer period of time than the 1 game or 2 games he came in and played this last year. But Texas is just so talented. I couldn't leave them out of the top 4. Then at 5, 6, 7, 8, it's that kind of the next tier of Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and Oregon. I'll put Notre Dame in that same tier of just really talented teams with questions at quarterback. Bigger questions, at least, than Texas has, but questions at quarterback. We found out now who Ohio State's starting in Sayin. We know who everybody else is. Well, actually, Oregon hasn't technically announced, but
it's going to be Dante Moore. It's going
to be Dante Moore in all likelihood. Oregon fans are saying to watch out for
Austin Novosad.
Novosad, thank you, Austin Novosad. But the reality is that whoever they start is going to be Dan Lanning's choice, and Dan Lanning is going to make it work, and it's going to be a good offense. It's going to be a great defense. Notre Dame, after the way they played last year, the way they performed, going all the way to championship, they returned their running back and some other important pieces. I expect them to be good. Then we get into like the weird spot of good quarterbacks, but like you're not sure what to do with the teams around him in Florida, Miami, South Carolina, Arizona State, Texas A&M. I initially had Arizona State a lot farther down, and this is where I kind of got into like not sure what to do with the Big 12 because initially I picked TCU to win the Big 12, and I just didn't like that pick doing my top 25, so I changed it to Arizona State. South Carolina and Texas A&M are South Carolina and Texas A&M have good quarterbacks, but last year were interesting seasons because they were both young. So if those guys can both take steps forward this year in Sellers and help
Marcel Reed.
Yeah,
don't forget that's disrespecting my boy.
Names just jumped out of my brain. Marcel Reed, Lenore Sellers. If they can take steps forward this year, that could be really impressive. Michigan, Bryce Underwood. What does Bryce Underwood play like? Let's see. Who else do I have on here? I'm going to skip because our rankings are not too different, and I'm not going to hit on boring stuff. I ranked UNLV just because they are my pick to make the playoffs as a G5 team, so I wanted to have them on here to start the season. But that's kind of the highlights. I've got Texas Tech. I don't think either of y'all did. That's also due to the transfer portal they bought in and then some of the guys they return. They bring back their quarterback. That's my top 25. JP?
Yeah, you can throw mine up there. I don't have Texas Tech ranked either. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about is I don't think they've earned that right. For me, this top 25 to begin the year is the 25 best teams in college football. It should not be used to predict the season in my eyes, which because of that, in later weeks, you shouldn't use it to say, oh, I was right. At least the first one. The second one, once you've seen all the teams played, you can talk about if you were right or not. But Texas Tech hasn't earned the right to be ranked in the top 25 for me, even with the transfer class that they brought in. I mean, look at Florida State last year. That's a prime example of. Now, that's not necessarily a prime example. That could be viewed as an outlier because it was potentially the worst season in college football history. But Texas Tech, for me, I don't think they've earned the right to be in the top 25 because all of their earned isn't on the team. It's a bunch of transfers that came in. That are unproven in that Red Raider uniform.
Can I push back? I mean, they do return some guys, and they return from a team that won 8 games last year. So it's not even like it's a transfer, like a complete flip around from a team like Arizona State that went 3-9 the year before and then won the conference championship the next year. It's not like that kind of situation. But they did win games last year. They finished, 8 games. If you win 9 games, I think like all but one team in the last 10 years has finished ranked.
Sure.
If you won 9 games.
I think, though, if you listen to the preseason hype, it's all about the transfers they brought in as to why people are ranking them. You hear about Quinion Joyner, who now won't play this year, guys like that, the defensive pieces they brought in as to the reason they're going to take this step and be even better this year. So I think that's kind of where JP is coming from. That's why I didn't rank them, because maybe it's also just petty. Like, I'll be too mad if it just doesn't work out for them. If they just kind of, they're going to be a solid team, but I've not seen anything from them in recent years under their head coach to be like, oh, they're going to be a great team, because we've seen transfer classes flop, and so it just becomes a wait-and-see type beat.
No, that's fair. Now you can go through the rest of yours, JP.
Yeah, I got Penn State number 1, and I'll put them as number 1 in something later in the show as well. The returning production is through the roof, and I just expect them to take another step. and I've just heard a lot of great things from them as well. Like, a big question this year is, like, how do you replace Tyler Warren? They feel that, like, they have 3 guys that can play to the level as a group that Tyler Warren did last year, and they think the additions at receiver can help that a ton. I got Texas at number 2 as well with Jack. They have just so many great players, so many draft picks for this year's draft, and I really like their team. I really like Steve Sarkisian. I really like their makeup. I like the way that they play football right now. I think the only downside for them right now is just they don't necessarily win the big game right now. Like, they've been in the playoff 2 years ago, kind of bullied by Washington. Last year, bullied by Georgia twice, and then bullied by Ohio State.
Sure.
They nearly lost to Arizona State. That is something they yet need to prove this year, that they are among these elite programs, because Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, you can throw in that conversation. They don't get pushed around. They don't get just like dominated very, very often. And when they do, it's something like kind of catastrophic happened, or it was just a weird year. I think for Georgia last year, they were dominated at Old Piss. But, like, I think about that game, and it played out weird, road environment. But then they were able to answer later on in the season, playing Texas twice, and in the SEC championship, losing your starting quarterback to end the half. They go ahead and do the Alabama thing in Atlanta themselves this time. So I think the big thing for Texas is I just want to see them prove that this year. But they have earned the right to be number 2, and I won't really highlight anything else in this grouping. I've ranked Georgia Tech, and they deserve to be in the top 25. I don't necessarily understand not having them in the top 25, Sanders. I've reluctantly ranked the school up north. If they were to play bad in week 1, which they probably won't, I will unrank them. I'm notorious for not ranking them whenever I can, whenever it's kind of reasonable.
I respect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say that I'm the same way, but right now it is not, unfortunately, unreasonable to unrank them.
Yes. USC, I have it at 22. It makes no sense that the AP didn't rank them. They've earned that right given the makeup of their roster. And then, as you'll see as we go throughout the season, I like to use the last 2 or 3 teams as just fun picks. But also, like, I could make arguments for these teams. James Madison, I could actually make an argument for.
Well, you're setting up for a ranked matchup
and
in Harrisonburg.
That's going to be an electric game if we get there. There's also a ranked matchup between GATA going to USC. I would also like to make a petition. No one will ever see it because no one will use this spreadsheet anymore. But I would like the abbreviation to be changed to GATA from here on forward. But I have Georgia Southern in there at 25. I like to just kind of throw guys a bone. Sure. There was a huge debacle last year with ranking Georgia Southern. Sanders, do you have any disagreements with ranking Georgia Southern right now?
What did they finish last year? Do you remember their record?
8-4 or 9-3, one of the two.
Oh, so it was okay. So it was a good. Yeah, no, I have no problem with it. I respect it.
Yeah.
I will be interested. We all have Indiana sitting there at 23. And when we get into our playoff discussions, I think we could have an interesting Indiana conversation. Do y'all want to go and move to playoffs?
Yeah,
yes, let's do it.
JP, I made graphics from mine and Jack's, but you didn't pick the game, so I don't have one for you, unfortunately.
Oh, I see.
But I'm gonna go
he
ahead
used to hold us in suspense as he reveals them.
Yeah, that's true. So I've got mine up there. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw the whole thing up. As y'all can see, I have the 1 seed being Clemson. I expect Clemson to go undefeated this year. That is my prediction, is that they will go 13-0, win the ACC, and finish as the 1 seed. I've got Penn State going 12-1, winning the Big Ten. I've got Georgia winning the SEC. And then I've got Arizona State winning the Big 12 and UNLV winning the Mountain West. There's some interesting matchups the Texas, Michigan, and I'm really excited to see Alabama-Michigan rematch. And then we get a Texas-Michigan rematch. And I've got Michigan winning both of those rematches as they did in the original. I've got Michigan going all the way to the semifinals as the number 9 overall team, the 10 seed, because it is still the top 4 seeds. Are we doing the reshuffle thing?
What do you mean?
It's so like I can't remember if they changed it to where do the top 4 conference champions do they all get the bye, or is the top 4 seeds get the bye?
No, it is just straight top 12 teams.
Well, then my bracket is a little incorrect because I have it set up so that Arizona State gets a bye. I didn't change the coding from last season, so it's a little off. So I can just walk you through the seeds. It would be Clemson, Penn State, Georgia, and Texas all getting byes. But I've got Michigan. I just really
do we want to stop and change the coding?
I mean, it's
and remake graphics.
Yeah, I can.
How long would that take you?
You don't have to remake the graphics if you just want to walk it through.
Or you could screen share.
Yeah. That's actually let me try and do. I can screen share, and then I should be able to screen share yours potentially.
Yeah.
All right, team. I may have to.
Blazing Killer, I think he'll
y'all just
be all right. I did see
there.
he got put into the new college football game, so shout out to him for that. I think he's a 66 overall or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
But congrats to him.
I'm glad that they added a bunch of freshmen because that almost kind of tripped me up a few times I used the game to do a little bit of my scouting to think on the teams because it's
a good way to get the roster in front of you.
Good way to get the roster in front of me and kind of get a look at how they're kind of viewed comparatively without having to dive into 8 hours of film on MAC quarterbacks. I can kind of know who is one of the better quarterbacks. But I almost got tripped up because a bunch of the freshmen aren't in the game, and Ohio State has their second string running back is a made up person. In the game. So it's a freshman. I don't know his name. I think it's C.J. Donaldson. Actually,
C.J. Donaldson's a transfer from West Virginia.
Okay, it's not him. Then it's some other freshman.
Chromie knows about C.J. Donaldson.
That almost tripped me up, and I almost kind of got caught there. But I think I hope he will perform as well. It's good for his brand, and I'm all here for players building brands. His merchandise is interesting, that's for sure. But I think he'll perform fine.
We're getting closer, squad. It's still a little.
Yeah, no rush. Jack, you got anything you need to get off your mind?
Did you see the Michael Porter video I sent in Yapping?
Yeah.
Do we think that was real from Jokic?
Yes.
I mean, I think so too. That is crazy.
I think MPJ and Jokic have played enough games together that there's just no way Jokic didn't say that. I don't. As crazy as the things that Michael Porter Jr. has said in recent months, I don't find him to be a capper.
Yeah,
that just doesn't fit
he doesn't
his
need
personality.
to. He doesn't have to, for one thing. He's got enough content on his own right.
Exactly.
How happy do you think Jokic is that he's gone?
I think he's fine with it. I think the big kind of thing with Michael Porter Jr., just thinking from a basketball perspective, was just he doesn't score at the level that his contract is.
Correct.
And he didn't shoot well enough in the postseason at the level that his contract was. And he's dealt with injuries a ton in the postseason especially. But his role on that team was to be a spot-up shooter, to be in the corner, to be Jokic is on the other side and hits him on a pass. And because he's 6'10", it doesn't matter what the closeout is, he's going to knock down a shot.
Sure.
For that team, it was Aaron Gordon. And I think that's a problem because the pay discrepancy is huge there. And Michael Porter Jr., given his talent, should be better. And he's going to be a 20-point per game scorer in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really that for Denver. And I think that's, especially in the postseason, I think that it could help them a ton. Now I'm curious how it will go with Aaron and Cam Johnson and how that kind of will feed out. But I think Cam Johnson, he's had his playoff moments.
Sure.
Especially in Phoenix.
Gives them more roster flexibility, too, if they need to make a move along the way.
100%. I'm excited to watch them. I still don't understand the Michael Malone firing. That doesn't make too much sense to me, but I think the rumors are there that like Michael Malone was just being too much of a Glazer, kind of, and he wasn't necessarily being a basketball coach, but I completely disagree. I would hire Michael Malone right now for almost 25 of the teams in the league.
I'm not mad at it, and I'm not shocked because it's the Spurs, but I would have enjoyed a Michael Malone hiring for the Spurs. But the Spurs are just always going to, hire from in-house because they're just so big on development. But I would have loved Michael Malone personally.
All right, I now have the graphic basically ready. We'll just fill it out as we go.
To fill it out there and screen share it?
Yeah, so let me pull up my top 25 and then I can
Sanders, you have been claimed to look like you are high out of your mind.
How
do you respond to those allegations?
If you look at photos of me, and I hate this, for some reason, I look like I am just, baked. In most of the photos that I have of me, where I'm, with someone trying to, look presentable, I look so goofy, and I do not understand why. All right, I've got Clemson as the 1 seed, Penn State as the 2 seed. So let me put Penn State here.
Do you have more points on? Did you finish your Michael Malone?
Who said that?
Was
it someone we know, or was it a rando?
A rando.
A rando. Thank you, rando. I agree. So I'm not offended.
It's not a rando. We'll pull up his name again.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to call you rando.
Marco's 29.
Marco's 29.
He's also the guy who was asking us about Hugh and Dixie. So shout out Hugh and Dixie.
Shout out Dixie.
I think Michael Malone was the best coach available last offseason. And I would have loved the Spurs to get him, but the Spurs are always going to develop and hire from in-house, and I respect that, but I am still a little disappointed just because I think that's a great coach. I agree. I don't know why they fired him. I think it kind of becomes a point of, once Team Kim goes bad and, people have disagreements with the head coach, and the NBA is so player-centric and player-focused that you don't really have much of a choice but to get rid of the guy. It's almost like if you play some 2Ks, the Team Kim matters so freaking much. If you go into the playoff and someone's mad about minutes and stuff like that, and your Team Kim's a 30, you cannot win games. You will not win the playoffs to a point where it gets so frustrating because you will have the best team, but since you have the best team and all these great players don't get the minutes they want or they don't agree with the coaching scheme, you just get fricked.
Yeah, it's the great thing about basketball is that because it's 5 guys playing offensively and defensively, and it's just 5 guys. You have to all gel. There can't be any discrepancies, disagreements, I should say, between anybody. You need to be playing as a unit. And a lot of time, what coaches will say is, you try to play defense on a string. And at that level, with how much they play together and how many games they play and how much they practice, offensively, it is, it's so much. It's not even necessarily running a system at times. It's just chemistry. That's something we see in angle ball. When you put you and Jackson on the same team, that, it's Kim. It don't matter who else is around you because you guys play so well off of each other and can create for others that you could put the next 6 best guys on the other field and it wouldn't matter. You'd still be super competitive in that. That's something I love about basketball. It's not just build a bunch of super teams, and we've seen that. Think of Brooklyn with Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. While injuries kind of hurt them there, they never really gelled together as a unit. Even think of Phoenix with Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. That didn't necessarily develop well for them. The Thunder ended up having that problem with Russell Westbrook, Harden, and Durant. They let Harden go for nothing, and then Durant and Westbrook have their disagreement. Durant being mentioned a ton in all of this, by the way. Shout out KD, though. Thank you for watching. He's not watching. But it's something I love about basketball, and I completely agree. I think you were saying that's a concern for Denver this year. Is that what you were saying?
No, I think it's moved past, but that's why they had to get rid of Mike Malone. Even though Mike Malone's a great coach, but it just wasn't working at the time and in the moment.
Absolutely.
And at some point it soured with the rest of the like group there.
Do you need me to pick games for you?
So I have filled out my bracket and picked my games. I'll walk y'all through it, and then we'll have to take a minute and a half for you to, I'll have to refill the bracket with your teams, and then you pick games.
And Jack's teams.
And Jack's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll have to do it one at a time. So I'm going to go
That's
and put
fine.
mine up there and walk y'all through it. I've got, like I said, Clemson going undefeated, winning the ACC. Penn State finishing the 2 seed, winning the Big Ten, going 12-1. Couple really cool. We get Michigan is going to host Ohio State in back-to-back weeks. First in the regular season. Well, I guess not back-to-back weeks. Alternate. So they'll go in the regular season and then start the playoffs. So it's 2 weeks in between, technically.
Probably, I think
Ohio
it's
State's going to host, though, right? They're the 8.
Oh, you're right. I'm looking it upside down. So that's even better.
It's almost
Michigan,
a month and a half between games, too.
Is it really? From the last week of regular season?
It's basically a month.
Yeah, about a month.
Thanksgiving to
Yeah.
post-Christmas.
I forgot that the playoffs start late, and then we go all the way to the 20th of January or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let me start that over then and say Michigan will host Ohio State to end the regular season, and then Ohio State, with my prediction, will turn around and host Michigan to start the playoffs. We also get Oregon getting 2 Big Ten rematches. In the first round, they play Nebraska. They host Nebraska, and then in the second round, they play Penn State. Penn State wins the Oregon game for the second time. Texas-Arizona State rematch. I've got Arizona State winning this version. That one is a kind of a spiteful pick, but also just I just want Arizona State to win that game so much.
I mean, the best team isn't necessarily always going to win.
Correct. Alabama-UNLV, the 5-12 matchup. We get Alabama-Texas.
You have Texas in here twice.
Oh, freak. Where?
You have Texas as the 4 seed and Texas as the 6 seed. Freak. So that's really impressive from Texas.
All right, so let's pick up a new conversation.
Yep,
here.
y'all take a dude. Okay, who do I have? Who is this? Oh, it's Notre Dame. Okay.
You're missing Notre Dame. Crazy.
That's something we didn't get to talk about too much. Notre Dame this season.
Facts.
Their kind of outlook. They got big games on their schedule this year. Getting to play, they host USC like always. They host your Aggies.
Yep.
They also go to Miami. We're good.
Yeah. So you can say that and talk about it while Jack makes his picks.
Okay.
You can preview Notre Dame while Jack makes his picks.
We'll come back to Notre Dame.
As I was saying, Notre Dame is the 6th seed. I have them losing to Arizona State because I'm going to keep Sam Leavitt, the guy who threw for 300-something yards and 4 touchdowns in a high school game, as we heard from B earlier. And then I have Penn State, Clemson, the championship. That's a really exciting matchup. The two veteran quarterbacks on 2 very talented rosters with 2 very good head coaches duking it out. I've got Penn State winning it, and James Franklin finally getting the thing he needs to say that he can win big games, which if they go 12-1 this year, he will win some of those big games that people say he can't. So
they still may not say it because similarly it was said about Ryan Day last year, and they had to go on and win the national championship for that to not be said anymore. So
yeah.
Yep. There's always a bigger game to win.
The Nebraska one, I shout out Brandon Walker.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. If
you look at their schedule, they should go 10-2. And so I have a 10-2 Nebraska getting into the playoffs. They're challenging games. I believe it's 2 conference
at Penn
games.
State, hosting Michigan, hosting USC would be their 3 toughest games.
And I would have them losing to Michigan and beating USC.
You have them winning at Penn State?
No, losing that one too. So I've got them going 10-2. Losing to Penn State, losing to Michigan.
Heard.
Fair enough.
So they'll be one of those, and I think we'll get to it later. I think they're my team that shouldn't make it but will. They're not a top 12 team, but I think they could be an Indiana situation where Indiana it took being 11-1. I think Nebraska can do it at 10-2.
Okay.
Now, JP, talk about Notre Dame. Jack, if you will mute your mic, we can set your thing up.
Yeah, Notre Dame, big season for them this year. They've got big out-of-conference games, and I think they were into an interesting spot where Notre Dame could miss the playoff this year. C.J. Carr is going to start at quarterback for them, but they return Jeremiah Love. They return some key defensive pieces. They return most of their receiver room outside of Bo Collins, and they expect to be good there. In fact, they brought in a few transfers at wide receiver as well. But my biggest point is they play a lot of big out-of-conference games, hosting A&M, hosting USC, They play Stanford, huge game, not really, but they also go to Miami to start the year, and I'm really curious to see like if 10-2 Notre Dame is there, what is the argument for them versus a 9-3 team? What is the argument for them if like let's say a 9-3 team made the SEC championship, like that almost happened last year with A&M? Like if that team loses in the SEC championship, are they in over Notre Dame? I don't know if you're going to be able to make that argument, because if they were to lose 2 out of the 3 games, like that's where your best win is USC, which is not a guarantee to be good in the Big Ten this year. Miami, which who knows with Carson Beck there, but winning at Miami I think would be viewed highly, and Miami should be good this season. And then hosting A&M. A&M is going to be 8-4 because they always are, but there's routes for them where they're really, really good, and that win looks a lot better. I'm curious to see how that goes for Notre Dame, but it's a season. I think it's different than last year because they also play Boise State. I didn't even mention that. They play Boise State as well. That could be a challenge for them. While the Notre Dame game is at home against Boise State, will their resume be good enough at 10-2? I think is the biggest question right now, and I'm curious to see if that's the truth. On to my next topic. I want to talk about Stompin' in G2. Man, what a dog. He already, in his first Pro League tournament, has a spot that's literally named after him. Now, it's not official. It's not mainstream yet, but it will be. Close IT Door on Night Haven Labs will now be known as Stompin'. So he joins the elite class of K9, Bolo, Shiko, and now Stompin' because of his little 1v4 Night Haven clutch. In a game they did not win, but he made one of the greatest plays in potentially Siege history. So Stompin', congratulations. You have a spot on a map in Rainbow Six Siege, and that's insane for a guy who just played in his first Pro League tournament ever. But without further ado, Jack is ready to reveal his top 25.
Nope.
My
his
playoff bracket.
Yep.
Jack, take it away.
Yeah, so, I mean, Clemson's my 1 seed because I think they just have a schedule that sets up very well for them to be able to either go 13-0 or 12-1, something like that, and take that top seed. Alabama have them winning the SEC, so they're a high seed. Ohio State have them winning the Big Ten, so they end up as a top 4 seed. And I think Penn State's going to be really good as well, so they end up with the other top 4 seed. Surprises of the bracket, TCU makes it. That's not something you're going to see very often. And not just TCU, but 2 Big 12 teams, I think, is something not very many people are going to have.
Yeah,
but I think both are going to have really good seasons and make it. So while TCU wins the Big 12, in my opinion, Arizona State is either going to have 1 loss or 2 losses, and they're going to make it in as well and look to make some noise. So I'd say that's probably the biggest surprise in my bracket. Nothing else is really too shocking. I have Alabama winning it all. And not only that, we get a kind of classic matchup in the finals at this point. Alabama-Clemson, throwback to the late 2010s or the mid to late 2010s matchups. I think that could be a ton of fun. But I just love Ty Simpson. I love that Alabama defense. I've been hyping them up so much. I hope I can hype them up during the regular season and they don't let me down. But I think they can go on a run and win multiple playoff games, win the whole thing, knock off Clemson, and Kalen DeBoer can kind of silence some early doubters about his tenure at Alabama and kind of uphold and keep going what Nick Saban built there. So that's kind of my playoffs. Nothing crazy. Any questions about it?
You've got some fire matchups. So we get TCU, Georgia, which that's exciting. We get to see a rematch of that championship game from 2021.
Sure.
Or 22. Cincinnati was 21. That's exciting. Clemson, Georgia, a rematch from last year's season opener where Clemson got hosed. And you've got Clemson winning that game. That's going to be an exciting matchup. Miami in the playoffs is a 6 seed. Is cool. You've got them, I guess, going like 11-2 or...
I think they're going to go 11-1 in the regular season.
And then lose ACC
championship.
So 11-2. Okay.
They'll lose to Florida in the regular season is my prediction.
All right, cool. LSU, Texas, an SEC matchup. It does set up Ohio State, Alabama, and then I love Alabama, Clemson in the championship game. It just like it looks good. Like it makes me feel like we're in like 2015, 2016, 2017 again, which is I miss those years of college football. So that's I like how this bracket shapes up. And you did say earlier that it's kind of like top heavy in that you picked a lot of the heavy hitters of college football this year. And I feel like I did too.
I mean, they're the heavy hitters for a reason.
True. But there are some really fun matchups and storied games that we would have if this bracket panned out. Thoughts, JP?
Yeah, so LSU's 9-3, I assume.
Yeah. They get the nod.
What is the argument for TCU being ranked higher than Georgia?
Because I think TCU's only going to have lost one game, and they're going to have won their conference.
Okay.
So that's my thought process there.
And then Arizona State will also have lost. Will it be like Arizona State and does Arizona State go undefeated in the regular season and then lose the conference championship?
Arizona State will have 2 losses, but I think they'll have picked up enough good wins that it won't matter. They'll still be in because also we've seen.
I mean, you have them being 11-2.
Yeah, the committee doesn't really knock a team too much for losing a conference championship game.
Yeah. So they could go 11-1 into the championship. That's fair.
I'm not gonna say this is very likely. Like, I mean, so many scenarios would have to break right for the Big 12 to get 2 teams in. Those teams would have to survive the chaos we've known the Big 12 to be. But I felt like going for it. So
4 SEC teams: Georgia, Texas, LSU, Alabama.
They get the highest.
I think I only had 3.
Tenure.
I think I had 3 and like 5 Big 10 teams or something. I had a lot.
The Big 10 is typically very highly represented. I think the Illinois, the Indianas will take too many losses and beat each other up. And even some of those teams they don't have very many opportunities to pick up big wins, if that makes sense. So like I have them losing their couple chances to pick up big wins, and then with that on the table, I think LSU at 9-3 is gonna have a way better resume. So I have them getting in.
Indiana, I was actually hoping to talk about that. Do you have Indiana in your playoffs, JP?
Absolutely not.
Okay, just double checking. In that case, I'll talk about them real quick and just say I don't see Indiana getting in again. I see them finishing with 2 losses, and I don't see them having the win they need to overcome those 2 losses. So I see them finishing as a 2-loss team outside of the playoff. Jack, what are you going to monologue about while me and JP work this out?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question.
You want to talk about the path for X amount of bids for conferences?
I can, yeah.
You can. I don't need you yet, JP. So you talk for a bit.
Okay, well then I'll go ahead and tell you that there is a path for 6 SEC teams to make the college football playoff this year. So 6 out of your 12, that leaves spots for the Group of 5 champ. That's your 7th. ACC champ is 8. Your Big 10 champ is 9, and the Big 12 champ is 10. Meaning you only get potentially 3 Big 10 teams, or it could be 2 from Big 12 or ACC to go along with the Big 10 team and the Big 10 championship loser. But there's a path for 6 SEC teams to make the playoff because there is a path for 6 SEC teams to be 10-2 this year, and that would be, in my case right now, it is possible for South Carolina, Texas, Bama, LSU, the school up north, Ole Miss, and Georgia to all be 10-2 this year, and I don't see a way where a 10-2 team from the ACC is not in the playoff, and so all of those teams would be in the playoff. I will also mention that these teams would have big wins as well throughout the season. All of these teams are going to play in big out-of-conference games as well, which are going to help their case even at 10-2 if there's a disagreement with another team from another conference. But there's a path for 6 SEC teams to make the college football playoff this year. And given the season of unknowns that we're going into, I think it's something that could even happen. Now, it's hard for it to happen because a lot of these teams up at the top play each other this year. And
there could be almost no upsets. Like
there's also a path where we get to like 8, 9, and 3 teams.
Yeah.
And in that case, it's going to just come down to a bunch of head-to-head. And then that would be probably only 3 to 4 SEC teams to make the playoff in that case. But 6 can make it in the SEC, and 6 can also make it in the Big Ten. In this case, Penn State goes undefeated. USC is 10-2, 8-1 in the conference, makes the Big Ten championship game. Ohio State goes 11-1, Michigan 10-2, Washington 10-2, and Oregon 10-2. And in this case, all 6 of those teams, I think, in my eyes, would make the college football playoff. The hardest argument to make in that one is Oregon making it, but Oregon would have a win over USC, who was in the Big Ten championship, and I think that would be enough for them to sneak in over an SEC team at 9-3. So there's your path for 6 Big Ten teams to make the college football playoff, which of course leaves only 2 spots for other at-large bids in the playoff. Are you ready for my picks, good sir?
I think we should just do them like live instead of beforehand.
Oh, sure.
Just kind of walk me through it.
I'm for that.
Yeah.
It'll be more fun. We can kind of do a slow reveal. We should have done that for Jack too. I wish I thought about it. So that being said, does that look like your bracket? I believe that's correct. Take a quick peek.
Boise State's 12, not 11, and USC's in the playoff.
Yes,
by the way.
thank you. Is USC's 11? So I didn't finish changing out.
You took my last 2 teams still.
And there we have it. I'm gonna put it on the screen, and we'll start making your picks. You want to start in the top left, Alabama, Kansas State?
Yeah, sure. Alabama, Kansas State. I'm taking the Crimson Tide to win that in Tuscaloosa. That's not really a hard pick to make. Last year, all 4 teams that hosted in the first round won. And then all 4 teams that had a first-round bye lost. I don't expect that to happen again this year, but that's a tidbit about last year's playoff. I think one road team is going to win this year, and I'll make that pick here in a second. But I think the home field advantage is such a huge advantage, especially in the postseason. And we saw that last year with the cold weather as well, like Notre Dame. Even hosting Indiana, who is a cold weather
Ohio State
team,
hosting Tennessee.
More specifically, Ohio State hosting Tennessee and Penn State hosting SMU. Those were huge advantages, and so the Big Ten teams that can get there to the 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to have a tremendous advantage in the playoff, especially if they play a Southern team. But give me the Crimson Tide. I'll go to the next one, Notre Dame, Boise State. I'm going to take Notre Dame to beat Boise State a second time this year. They play in the regular season this year at Notre Dame. I'll take Notre Dame to win that game again. Then I'll go Texas, Oregon. And I said I'd predict the road team to win. I'm going to take the Oregon Ducks to upset Texas in Austin. Give me Dante Moore. Give me Dan Lanning. That's a team that Dan Lanning does not have trouble with. A coach he doesn't have trouble with, a la Kalen DeBoer. So I think he'll handle Steve Sarkisian. Dante Moore will outplay Arch Manning, and give me the Ducks to advance to the next round. And then finally, the surprise team to make the postseason, and they're this high because of their resume. South Carolina, they'll have big wins for me this year. And I want to make this claim again, which I made this take earlier. I think this is a completely interchangeable spot, but I do not see a world where this does not happen. And it is one of those teams outside of that top tier in the SEC with elite quarterback play is making the playoff, and I think they'll have a good enough resume to be hosting a first-round playoff game. And for me, it's South Carolina, Lenore Sellers. But this could be interchanged with John Mateer in Oklahoma, DJ Lagway in Florida, or Garrett Nussmeier in LSU. I think that's completely interchangeable. I also think it's even possible for like Texas A&M to be in this case if Marcel Reed kind of really takes a big step this year. But I would leave him out of that take. For me, it's South Carolina. So, yeah, it's appalling a little bit, but I'm that high on Lenore Sellers. He'd be the first pick in the draft for me right now. What's around him? There's big questions, especially defensively. But you go back and watch Lenore's play last year. He won them many games last year. He won them the Clemson game, inarguably. And I think he'll win South Carolina some big games this year, especially at Ole Miss, at A&M. I have him winning that game. And then Cocktober, they have that huge advantage this year. In October, they host Oklahoma and Alabama, and I think they'll win both of those games. So give me the Gamecocks in the playoff and beating USC at home. I'll speak on USC. I have them making the playoff this year. I think Lincoln Riley finally gets it done and takes finally the steps he was supposed to originally take with the Trojans. I have them going 10-2 this year, 8-1 in conference play, just missing out on the conference championship game behind Penn State. They have big games this year that they're going to have to prove themselves. But I think right now, for me, it feels like it's laughable. It feels disrespectful for them to be in conversations where we are discussing whether or not they're going to beat Illinois. And they have put themselves in that conversation because they've been so bad with Lincoln Riley in the first few years, outside of the first year with Caleb Williams winning the Heisman. But I think they're finally going to get away from that notion, join those top teams in the Big Ten, and make the playoff this year, beating Illinois. I think they'll beat Michigan at home. My two losses for them are Notre Dame and Oregon, who are both playoff teams. To move on into the quarterfinals, we'll start in the top left again. Penn State, Crimson Tide. Give me the Nittany Lions. I think quarterback play is really the difference there. And I think Penn State showed last year that they are going to be successful in a playoff atmosphere. They won big games. Now, it was games over SMU and Boise State. I understand that, but I think they'll take down the Crimson Tide and advance to the semifinals. I think they've got the team and the makeup built for that. Ohio State, Notre Dame in the 4-5. I'm going to take... give me Ohio State. I think the roster's too good there for them to lose that game. A rematch of last year's national championship game. Jeremiah Smith goes off again. Give me the Buckeyes to advance to the semifinals. In the other quarterfinal matchup, Clemson, Oregon. Give me the Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Clemson. Dabo Swinney gets it done. They win a playoff game this year after making the playoff last year and losing to Texas. I love the roster. I love the makeup. I love the atmosphere, the feeling in the building right now, the culture, and I think they'll beat Oregon in that quarterfinal game. Georgia, South Carolina, who do not play this year, but I do have them playing each other in the SEC Championship. Rematch of the SEC Championship. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm not going to pick Lenore Sellers to go that far. I'm not high enough on their team. As good as Lenore is, I don't think he can win enough big games to make it all the way to the semifinals of the college football playoff. But he can make it this far to the quarterfinals. Then we have a bunch of good matchups here. This one is Penn State, Ohio State for the third time this season for me.
They're 1-1 at this point, right?
Yes, this would be the rubber match. Ohio State beating Penn State at home in the regular season. Then I have Penn State winning the Big Ten championship. I'm going to take Penn State again on the neutral field to beat Ohio State once again. Again, this is quarterback play for me. I have more faith in Drew Aller than I have faith in Julian Sayin, and I don't think that's a hot take for anyone right now. Julian Sayin at that point in the season would have proven something for them to be in the semifinals, and so I think Ohio State would be probably favored in that game, and probably rightfully so, but give me the Nittany Lions to advance to the CFP National Championship. And then the other one, Clemson, Georgia, rematch of last year's beatdown, as Sanders mentioned earlier, with the Georgia Bulldogs came out on top. Give me the Tigers. Clemson. Quarterback play again. Gunnar Stockton versus Kate Klubnik. First-round pick versus a guy who's probably not going to get drafted unless he really, really performs. Stetson Bennett had to win 2 national championships just to be a late-round pick at quarterback, and Gunnar Stockton's probably going to have to do the same. But he's young. He's a sophomore. He's got time to grow. But give me the Tigers. And then Penn State, Clemson.
That's the same. We had the same championship matchup.
I'm going to take the Nittany Lions as well. I'm going to take Penn State to win it. Kate Klubnik is my Heisman. So quarterback play isn't necessarily an argument I can make here. I just think Penn State has the bodies to outperform Clemson. I just don't think Clemson is there from a physicality perspective, which would give them trouble in a game like Georgia or Oregon. But I think they've got better quarterback play there. Penn State with Drew Aller, I think it's almost an equal quarterback play battle there. So give me Penn State and the Nittany Lions winning it all, monkey off their back. James Franklin finally gets it done. He can win the big game, and then they can go into next year and go 9-3 because their entire team leaves.
Do we want to move into our superlatives?
Yeah, let's run through them real quick.
Yeah, let's try and be quick about it. I agree.
We can hit them.
Let's start with Heisman, and me and JP can start because we have the same Heisman prediction. It's a championship finalist, Cade Klubnik. He's got the weapons and 2 sophomore wide receivers in TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco. Mm-hmm. And then he's got Antonio Williams, a top 200, I think a top 50 prospect. I don't know why I started. He's up there as far as the PFF big board goes. I'm going with Cade Klubnik. He put up very good numbers last year, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Is that right?
Something like that.
And nearly 4,000 yards. He was up in the upper 3,000. So a very good year last year. I expect him to have another similar year this year. Yeah, I've got Cade Klubnik. JP, you want to say anything about him?
I think the numbers should be better than they even were last year, especially another year with their offensive coordinator and another year in the system, and Cade's just another year older. I think a huge thing for them and why I have Cade winning the Heisman is because Clemson, I think, is going undefeated this year. And that's a large part of arguments for Heisman trophies is how good your team is. We've seen that. And so I got Cade as well.
Yeah, there's also a thing, too, of the biggest question for that team is the run game and the running back room. So they may pass a little more than we've seen other Clemson teams do if the running game, doesn't get sorted out. It's not like that's the biggest question, but it's not like it's a disaster or anything like that. It's the question. I have Jeremiah Smith winning it.
Well, real quick, talking about the Clemson, how often have we seen a team go undefeated and then someone from a team that didn't go undefeated win the Heisman?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I guess the year Michigan went undefeated, they had Aiden Hutchinson on that team, right? Was that Aiden Hutchinson? And he did not win it. So it does happen. So going undefeated.
Defensive end.
Yes, this is true. I guess the better question would be how often do you have a quarterback? Well, J.J. McCarthy did not win it as an undefeated quarterback. Go ahead. You can. Sorry, go.
You're good. I have Jeremiah Smith winning it. I think he has a great chance to win it as a non-QB. As good of a chance as anyone that's not a QB has to win it. I also went into the spreadsheet third and saw y'all both had Cade and said I'm not going 3 for 3 on Cade. As much as I love Cade, I think he's going to have a great season. Freshman year, he had 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns as a receiver.
That's crazy.
And can still just get better. I think he's going to be an even more of a focal point of the offense this year. They lost their running backs. They're going to have to find something for Julian Sayin to rely on. That's like the best security blanket any new QB can ever have is Jeremiah Smith. So I think he's going to put up monster numbers. Team success does matter for the Heisman. I think they're going to have another great season. I have them winning the Big Ten again. So I think that's going to be there as well. And I just feel like every once in a while they're almost like, yeah, let's bound together as the voters and give it to a non-QB because we like this guy a lot. And I think he's going to have the numbers and the hype and the love to get it done as a non-QB. So I'm going Jeremiah Smith.
JP, you want to go Patrick Manley real quick since you're the only person who filled that out?
Yeah, give me Bo Gardner.
All right, great pick. Moving on. Do you have anything else you want to say about him?
No.
Cool. Let's move on to some of our superlatives. First head coach to be fired. I'll lead off with Hugh Freeze at Auburn. We said in our Auburn preview, I am selling on Jackson Arnold, the stuff I've heard coming out of camp. I've heard bad things, and in my opinion, if you hear bad things coming out of training camps and fall camps or preseason or whatever, things have to be really bad because all you usually hear are the highlights and the good things. And so for something bad to be reported and for something bad to be trickling out of practices, it has to be really bad in my opinion. So I'm selling on Jackson Arnold. I'm predicting Auburn to have another year, 6-6, maybe 7-5, 5-7, somewhere in there, and Hugh Freeze gets the boot because Auburn fans are tired of being average to below average.
Fair. Would you like to give yours now, JP?
Same thing, almost, except it's been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
I just don't think Arkansas season is going to go well. They don't have anything outside of Taylor Green. Although I do like their wide receiver transfer, Schubert.
Omega Blake.
Omega Blake. Yes, that was his
Good
name.
pull.
But Sam Pittman's the fiery for me.
Sure. I went out of the SEC. I went Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. He's not been good there for them past couple years. I feel like they've kind of fallen by the wayside in this new era of college football, but that was a team that or a program that put really good teams out on the field consistently in the 2010s and stuff like that. And so I think they're ready to make a change there, and I don't think they're going to be good this year, and so I think they can move on that pretty quick, and he'll be out the door there, and they'll look for someone else. So
Cool.
Sorry, Brent Pry, but
Team that should make the playoffs but will not. I think it's interesting. One of y'all had Notre Dame in your playoffs, right?
JP did.
Okay, so you have them making the playoffs, but you think they won't.
I think there's a chance
Okay.
that I won't, and that's why I talked about it earlier. I think the out-of-conference games, well, they're all out-of-conference, but those games are tough, and they could lose 2 of them, and when they get to 2 losses, I don't know what the argument is there, because the 2 losses might look bad unless, like, if Miami had won the ACC championship, but then
Or USC becomes a 10-win Big Ten team.
You need USC or Texas A&M to be in playoff conversation, or even Boise. But losing to Boise, I think, looks worse, even if Boise was a top 4 seed somehow.
It's got the group of 5 stigma on
but
it.
You need, if you win that game, you need them to be in the playoff.
If
as
they're 11-1,
a booster.
They're in the playoff. But at 10-2, I think you could make arguments for 9-3 teams in the Big Ten or SEC.
Sure.
And so that would be my pick as a team that should make it but won't. Because for me, should is like plus 200 and under odds for FanDuel, and Notre Dame fits that category of making the playoff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have picked someone like, I don't know, Florida.
Yeah, it's a really tough thing to pick. I'm in the same boat of, like, since they're not in a conference, if they end up on the cut line, I think they're going to be the one that ends up getting left out, because I think it's a pretty easy cop-out answer for the committee to be like, well, they're not in a conference, so we're just going to move them out. And so if they lose 2 of those games, like you said, they may be in dangerous waters. I didn't have them in my playoff, so.
Yeah. I went with LSU. I think LSU should make it because they have Garrett Nussmeier coming back, and then they brought in a fantastic transfer class. They've got loads of talent, running back room. Like, everything about that team is talented, but the schedule plays out kind of rough for them. I could pull it up. I should have had it up so I could talk about it. I just don't see them. I see them getting to, like, 3 losses, and I don't see them being a 3-loss SEC team. They go to Clemson, they play Florida, they go to Ole Miss, play South Carolina, play A&M, go to Alabama, and go to Oklahoma. That is a lot, and I see them getting 3 losses out of there, and I don't see them being a 3-loss SEC team that makes it. I don't really know that I see a 3-loss team from either conference making it unless the Big 12 and ACC truly implode beyond that first and maybe second team. So that's why I have LSU. They should make the playoffs, but won't.
Yeah.
Let's flip it. Teams that shouldn't make the playoffs, but will.
I can go first.
Do it.
I think Miami does have a really good team, and like they're the quality of team that could make the playoffs, and not saying they shouldn't, but I just look at that conference schedule, and it's kind of like, all right, they can very well make it and really not put together the most like impressive season, or it won't be necessarily the most impressive resume. If you split those non-conference games against Florida and Notre Dame, you're going to be favored, I'd imagine, in all of your conference games, and then even if you go lose to Clemson in the conference championship game, that puts you at 11-2, and we've seen that they don't really knock you too much for losing conference championship games. So I think they'd find their way in without maybe really having done anything too overt or too clear to earn it. But they're just going to find themselves there because that schedule is pretty simple. So I went Miami. It's another tough one to pick just because, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows who's going to be good? Who knows who's not? Maybe their schedule turns out to be great. But
I went Nebraska for the same reason. You said Miami had, 2 tough games on that schedule? It was like 2 out of conference.
Two out of conference. It's Notre Dame and Florida.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like Jack said, they would be favored in every single one of their conference games, except the argument could only be made at SMU. And I still think they would be favored in that game because of the talent profile. That's reflected in the JP poll, which is pretty accurate when you compare it to Vegas spreads as well. That's why he does it, because he wants to make money off of it. But Miami, there is if they don't make the ACC championship, my God,
it's a bad look for Mario and them. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked Nebraska for the same reason. I see them getting to like 10, maybe 11 wins. Their hardest games are Michigan at home, USC at home, and at Penn State. So there's a chance that Nebraska loses at Penn State, and then home field advantage, you win against Michigan and USC. Now you're 11-1 with wins over Cincinnati at a neutral field, Akron, Houston Christian, Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, UCLA, and then Iowa at home. It's just like, other than those 2 or 3 games, their schedule is very weak, in my opinion. And that's, they play in the Big Ten, so Iowa could be a good team with a good defense, but they're not going to be a great team. So that's why I've got Nebraska getting to 10 wins and sneaking in, but not being there yet as far as other playoff teams. Nebraska is talented. Matt Rule it's the year 3 of Matt Rule, so they're going to win 10 games. Didn't even talk about that earlier. But they're still not on the same level, in my opinion, as other playoff teams, but I think that the lack of losses is going to get them in.
Yeah, and it feels really disrespectful to be like, this team shouldn't make it, but they will. Because at the end of the day, if you do go 11-2 or something like that, like Miami, like, I'm not going to be here like, wow, they shouldn't have made it. That's like, like, they're not a good team. Like, someone else got robbed. But it's just like, if someone did make it that has an easier path, maybe slips in.
Yeah, and I also think of it as far as like profile of the actual team itself, not just resume. Is like, is this team would I expect this team to hang with other playoff teams? And I would not expect Nebraska to hang with Georgia's or Alabama's or Ohio State's, maybe an Arizona State, but sure. That's kind of where I went with that. JP?
Yeah, for me it's South Carolina. And I don't want to beat a dead horse by making the same take again, but this is interchangeable between Oklahoma, Florida, and I wouldn't put LSU in this because they are in that conversation of making the playoffs for sure this year. But I don't see a world where one of those 3 teams, Carolina, Oklahoma, Florida, don't make the playoff because of the quarterback play they have. But for me, it's South Carolina. I think they've got the games that can really, really build their resume, that even at 9-3, you can make a great case for them to be in the playoff. Because to get to 9-3, they would have had to beat some really good teams in the SEC. So for me, they're the playoff team that would not be picked to make it, but will.
Sure. Moving on to most improved team, I'll kick it off again. I have Washington. They didn't just have a terrible year record-wise last year. They went 7-6, I believe. 7-6, 6-7. I think it was 7-6.
Yeah, they won the bowl game.
Yeah, they did win the bowl
Tony
game.
the Tiger Sun Bowl,
which is a huge bowl win. I mean, you don't get an opportunity to play in the Tony the Tiger Bowl game very often, so you have to take advantage of that. So even if they end up going like, I don't know, 8-4, 9-3, that's not a huge record jump, but I think the team quality is going to be vastly improved. The O-line and D-line were downright terrible last year, and I think year 2 under Jed Fish, he actually has a chance to bring some of his guys in. Like, he was just so behind the 8 ball last year, year 1, just with how DeBoer left and everything went down and how old that team was. He returned 2 starters, and that with DeMond Williams being the full-time starter this year. Sure, even if they, like I said, they don't make the playoffs or something like that, I think team quality is going to take a massive jump up, and they're actually going to be scary to play. They're not going to do something like losing the Apple Cup in a way they shouldn't, stuff like that. I think they'll be much, much better this year.
I've got, what are we doing? Teams most improved? I've got 2 teams, and they're in the exact same vein of teams that could double their winning, the number of wins they had last year. It is 2 teams from the same state, Southern Miss and Mississippi State. Southern Miss won 1 game last year. Mississippi State won 2. Southern Miss, I would bet every amount of money I've ever owned on them doubling their win total and getting the 2 wins this year with the new head coach. Mississippi State, I would not take that same bet. I do think they will get there, but I would not put money on it. That would be the over. The win total is 3.5, so they'd hit the over barely, but I would not put any money on that yet. I think both those teams are going to improve. Southern Miss brought in head coach and the portal class from Marshall, and I've talked about this for the last 3 months, like off and on, like every episode. And then Mississippi State brings in some bigger defensive linemen, upgrades there, some wide receivers to replace some losses, and then 2 quarterbacks, 1 out of the transfer portal, and then a freshman who probably won't start. But I think Mississippi State got better just about everywhere except for maybe wide receiver, and even there with the losses we had, like with Craver and Coleman, like I think we did the best we could to kind of fill those holes. So I think Mississippi State and Southern Miss will both be very improved from last year.
For me, it's Oklahoma. They were a 7-6 football team last year. I have them going 9-3 this year, but I think the improvement is just from an eye test thing. They were unwatchable for the last half of the season because of how bad they were offensively. Let me pull it up real quick again. The numbers for Jackson Arnold and their win over Alabama in the game where Jalen Milroe was not great whatsoever. Jackson Arnold in that game threw the ball 11 times, 9 completions for 68 yards, and he ran it 25 times for 131 yards. And yes, they beat Alabama, and that kind of made it watchable, but they were just putrid offensively, and I expect them to be much improved offensively with John Mateer and Jay Knott, the transfer from California. I just think it's going to be a really good offense. They bring in the offensive coordinator from Washington State who has coached John Mateer last year, and so I expect the offense to hit the ground running. Mateer's doesn't have to learn a new system. They only win 2 more games than they did last year. Now, they could win a bowl game and win 3. But eye test-wise, they're going to be a much better watch this year. And so, for me, they're my most improved team.
Similar to me in Washington, I like the pick. We can move on to most regressed team or team to regress the most. Most regressed team feels like it's bad English. I don't actually know if it is, but it feels so clunky.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the proper word because, like, most improved.
Prime regression candidates. I'm just going to put it that way.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I have Ole Miss. They were so talented last year, and they lost a ton. And especially defensively, I don't expect them to repeat that level of performance this next year.
They were a top 5 defense last year?
They were by a lot of metrics, and they just lost a ton there. And they did use the portal well to get some pieces back in. Sunter and Perkins is another guy he's coming back. But I just think there's no way that they repeat that defensive dominance, that even if their offense keeps humming like it has kind of always under Lane Kiffin, I think the overall team is going to take a step back. They may still win. I mean, they only won 9 games last year, right? So, it may be a thing of they win about that many games. But similar with Washington, where I expect them to get better even if the win total doesn't change. I think they're going to take a drop-off in talent and skill and performance. So,
yeah, I've got 2 teams. Marshall, they just lost so much in the portal, losing the head coach to Southern Miss. And then the P4 team I have, Indiana. They won 11 games last year. I could see them winning only 8 or 9 this year, depending on how close games play out against teams that I would say they're pretty even with, like Illinois and Iowa. And then I got them losing to Oregon and Penn State, so there's a chance that they could lose. I've got them losing 2 and up to 4 games. And I think that after last year, the energy is there, and so, dropping 3 games with what, an easy out-of-conference schedule is going to be pretty underwhelming. So I've got Indiana taking a step back after last year.
Ditto.
Oh, yeah, you had the same. I forgot you had the same team as me. That's easy.
We're an Indiana hating pod, apparently.
Our last segment, shout out Tucker for this one. He's the only person who responded to my tweet asking for
Thanks, Tucker.
Thoughts. Coaches, so I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's basically G5 head coaches or P4 coordinators who will be a P4 head coach next year. I'll go ahead and start. I've got John Summerall at Tulane. In his last 3 years coaching, he was at Tulane last year, and then the 2 years before that, he was at Troy. He won 12 games in 2022 at Troy, 11 in 2023, and then last year at Tulane he won 9, went 9-5 last year, and then this year there's a possibility that they could sneak into that G5 playoff spot. I have him specifically going to Kentucky because I could see a world where if John Summerall in this year, maybe Tulane only wins 8 games, then it may not happen. But if John Summerall can get to 10 or 11 wins, then Kentucky moves on from Stoops and brings in Summerall, who's a Kentucky graduate, alumni, and I think that they could use that to try and kind of reignite the program. So I've got Summerall making the jump after a good year this year and going back home to Kentucky.
I have Jeff Traylor at UTSA's head coach. I expect them to have a really good year this year. Contend for the American Conference, make that title game, maybe win it. And he's a guy that's gotten buzz before to make the jump to the Power 4. Now, they've not been as good the past couple years, so that's cooled off a little bit. / I don't think he's crazy eager to make the jump previously when teams have come calling, just because I think he knows the grass isn't always greener. He's got a pretty good gig there. But I think if he puts together a really good year and some of the jobs that are going to come open, and I expect to come open, I think this could be the time he finally gets lured away and enticed into taking a Power 4 gig. I like him. I think he'd be a good hire, not necessarily a great hire. But some teams can't afford to try and make a great hire. They just need to make a good hire. So that's who I have.
JP, you don't have anyone in the spreadsheet? You want to throw a name out there?
No, I got one. It's just not in the spreadsheet. I got Clay Helton, head coach at GATA, Georgia Southern. If you don't recall, he was the head coach at USC for 6 years before being fired in 2021, very early on in the season. And then he came and coached at Georgia Southern. He's led Georgia Southern to a bowl game 3 straight years in a row. They were 8-4 last year in the regular season, losing in the bowl game. I think they're going to be really good this year. I have them winning the Sun Belt. And I think because of that, he's in contention to not jump up into like the SEC or Big Ten. But the ACC or Big 12,
sure,
I think is completely a spot for him. He is not a guy who hasn't coached up there. He coached at USC. He had 2 productive seasons. He won a Rose Bowl at USC in 2016, and then they followed it up with an 11-3 year in 2017, also in a big bowl game, the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah,
losing that. So has experience coaching at the Power 5, Power 4 level, and he's been successful at Georgia Southern, a place that it does not have a rich history of success at the collegiate football level. And so I think he's in line with a really, really productive season this year for Georgia Southern. The biggest thing for me is like the players speak so well of him outwardly, publicly, about him and what he's doing at Georgia Southern right now, both people that are in the program right now and also people that have graduated and left the team. And I think that's a huge thing. I think he's building a really good program there, and that is coming from a firsthand source, boots on the ground, both a student there, but also a studier of the Georgia Southern football team. So Clay Helton's the guy for me.
Bet. I like that pick.
Cool.
That's all we have for y'all. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a fun show. Sunday we'll be back to wrap up week 0 of college football, talk a little more ball, look forward a little bit to week 1 potentially. But we look forward to that. Once again, thanks for tuning in.
Be back next Thursday, not Wednesday like it says on the graphic. I need to fix that. Yeah. Hey, we did it. A shorter show, only 2.5 hours.
Let's go, team. But yeah, once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next time. Peace.
See ya.